directions to the boat parade. Gonna get a sunburn standing out here all day.
Okay, calm down. We're not boat parading anymore. We're starting the stream, okay? Okay, we're starting the stream. We're not boat parading. I think the boat parade, I love boat parade. I love the boat parade, but I think we may be moving beyond the boat parade. I think we may be moving beyond it. I don't think we can like Trump isn't like haha funny anymore. You know what I mean? Like I feel like Trump was funnier back in the day. But now all the humor of Trump is lost. All the humor of Trump is just, it sucks. It sucks now. You know what I mean? He lost weight and lost. I don't think he did. I don't think he did. Come on. What the? So annoying. I'm like trying to fix the mic. I have a different arm and it's kind of low profile, but it doesn't want to like stay up, you know? So I have to like really elevate it and then like tighten something. And then when I release, it kind of sags a bit. It's very annoying. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. I don't want to like have to go down. So welcome on in, chat. Fix the mic. Yeah, so true. You know what I forgot, chat? The Epstein files are being released today. I think I'm gonna have to delete the DEMS. Epstein files released today. Also, it's starting to emerge that the same guy did the MIT attack and the Brown attack. Would you look at that? And then he was found dead with a quote self-inflicted gunshot wound in a storage shed. Sounds like a CIA activity to me. I'm sorry, chat, but that's not. That sounds like we're removing loose ends kind of thing. He committed suicide and then jumped into a barrel of acid. He made sure to destroy all the evidence. So why did he go shoot up Brown then? That seems weird. The motive was clearly against physics. A Columbia student on the anonymous Ivy League forum side chat says a Brown student posted the following comment on the platform. If you look at Brown's course planner, it shows the physics final was scheduled for that exact time and place, but he reportedly went to the lecture location instead of the final by mistake, where an economics review was taking place. The motive was, did Reddit do it? And by Reddit, I mean the Columbia student side chat, Ivy League side chat forum. This is what I mean about like a certain type of, I think they're right. Yeah. I think they're right. Let's pop it open, chat. Let's pop open some mainstream coverage because this shit is fucking weird, dude. All right, sorry. I've heard that stupid fucking auto playing. No, we've heard that on the channel like 10,000 times at this point. More photos from Epstein's estate released by House Democrats. Don't worry, we're gonna cover this.
It was all about groundwork, public assistance, interviews of individuals, and good old-fashioned policing. That is the type of police work that every police officer in this nation reminds themselves of, and that many do not understand. And that is critically important and often succeeds where technology alone cannot. We looked at financial records, we looked at video footages, and in the specific incident, it was actually a video that provided us with a description of a vehicle. That was corroborated through a tip that was received to the tip center. That room was packed with detectives, agents, receiving calls on a daily basis. We started early and left late. Then Flock and the LPR was able to provide us with this description of this vehicle. That vehicle was picked up by Flock, which led us to a car rental place in Massachusetts. Through that, the agents and their work as well were able to get us footage of this individual, as well as a copy of the agreement, which provided his real name. The video of that subject matched the description of that person of interest that this police department was desperate to put handcuffs on. That individual was identified as Claudio Neves Valenti, date of birth, and he was a 48-year-old man. He was a Brown student, he was a Portuguese national, and his last known address was in Miami, Florida. And I will tell you that he took his own life tonight. We have members of the Providence Police Department up in Salem, New Hampshire, and we also have the BCI unit. Obviously, the FBI and their evidence recovery unit is up there, so the process is being conducted as we speak. And it goes without saying that I would like to personally thank the efforts again of the Providence Police Department, the Rhode Island State Police, the Rhode Island Attorney General, the FBI, the ATF, HSI, the U.S. Marshals, IRS, DEA, Secret Service, and NCIS.
Oh my God. I fucking knew it. This is the clearest case of, oh my Lord.
There's no way that we could have done this by ourselves. In this nation, when horrific incidents like this happen, law enforcement steps up. Thank you very much.
Gentleman Ronald. Thank you, Mayor. You know, it's I would describe the emotions on the investigative team, including our prosecutors and the agents from both state police, Providence, as mixed. You know, there is a sense completeness in terms of the investigation, an investigation that's, if not the hardest, among the handful of hardest investigations that
Would they have caught the guy if he hadn't done a second shooting?
I've ever been involved with, and the sense that we owed those 2 dead Brown students and the 9 injured Brown students and the students who were in that auditorium that injured, and the Brown community and the Providence community results. And the teams worked really hard. I think I mentioned that to you almost every night that we met with you. I wish they were all up here with us. We wouldn't fit here, but it was remarkable to see the cooperation between the FBI agents, the ATF agents, the HSI agents, the Providence police detectives, the state police detectives, our prosecutors. And I will say that everybody brought a certain expertise to the table, but it is nevertheless a sad moment when you think about those young people who were hurt, injured, or worse, or 2 of them are now deceased. You know, to me, this was always going to be an investigation where something was going to break it open. We were going to pull threads. We were going to gather evidence that would lead us in a particular direction. And I will say that if we were with you less than, well, I guess now more than 24 hours ago, we had that picture of that second individual. And I would say within an hour, no more than 2, I think it was under an hour, that person came forward to 2 Providence police officers over on the east side and said he had information, that he was that person and he had information that could help this case. And I remember last night watching his interview, and he blew this case right open. He blew it open. And that's how these cases sometimes go. You can feel like you're not making a lot of progress. You can feel like you're chasing leads and they don't work out. But the team keeps going because, you know, those of us with experience know that you're going to pull a lot of threads, and it's not always the first one that's going to get you where you need to go. But when you do crack it, you crack it. And that person led us to the car, which led us to the name, which led us to the photographs of that individual renting the car, which matched the clothing of our shooter here in Providence, that matched the satchel that we see here in Providence. He was found dead with a satchel, with 2 firearms, and evidence in the car that that matches exactly what we see at the scene here in Providence. And so I know that you and the public have questions about how we got from a place yesterday where all we could share with you was a photograph of someone we wanted to talk to where we got to tonight. And so we got a state arrest warrant for murder today that was signed by a district court judge for this individual. There won't be a prosecution now, of course, but that affidavit is on our website, and you will be able to see more and read more about how this investigation unfolded. I won't get you all the way there because there are some things that happened afterwards which led us to this suspect's body in New Hampshire. But it will, I think, tell you, give you a sense of the work that went into this by the line prosecutors and the line agent and detectives from the agencies that work so well together. So, you know, as I said, it's with mixed emotions. It is unimaginable, the pain that the parents and families of the deceased are feeling tonight and will feel undoubtedly for quite a while. But I hope that...
I honest to God hate when, like, this is, okay, so this is the Rhode Island Attorney General, which means what? It means he's a politician. So he's just kind of rambling his ass off about like people's emotions and shit. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? This is what a mediocre machine politician looks like. They think their shit doesn't stink. They go up there, they start rambling about shit. They don't have any fucking coherent point. Everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're allowed to express condolences and but can you speak? And then he's like, we can't. Oh man, all the people who did all the work, they just wouldn't fit up here. I fit though. Anyway, it's like, Jesus Christ, the narcissism of this guy is incredible. Aren't you the guy who got humiliated by the Roach editor of the Roach King? I have never seen anyone. It's literally impossible for anyone to get humiliated by Asmongold. He has senile squalor syndrome. He's mentally ill. One of the funny things about Asmongold is he calls trans people mentally ill. He literally has senile squalor syndrome. He has a provable mental illness. You call him the Roach King. You call him the Roach King. You're his fan. Oh, holy shit.
I bring this person
That's
to justice that we can at least give them
I guess
the
you're
beginnings
just like
of some measure
the
of
lesser
closure.
Roach.
And I want to thank you all for your patience with me when I got a little testy with some of you. Those of you who know me from Rhode Island, you know that's my nature. So I really want to thank you for your patience. Thank you.
General, as has been said several times, the partnership with the FBI was invaluable. And so it's a pleasure to introduce Special Agent in charge of FBI, Ted Dox.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening. My name is Ted Dox, Special Agent in charge of FBI Boston. We got him. Shortly before 9 o'clock tonight, the FBI SWAT team executed court-authorized search warrants at a storage unit facility in Salem, New Hampshire. This is where we located Claudio Neves Valente, the individual who we believe was responsible for the Brown shooting. The latest developments in an intense 5-day manhunt, and is a result of an incredible amount of work dedicated by the law enforcement team standing here before you tonight. Every single agency brought their unique skills and expertise to this investigation. And we're motivated by the victims and survivors of this horrific. Even though the suspect was found dead tonight, our work is not done. There are many questions that need to be answered. There's a lot of evidence that needs to be processed, and most importantly, the victims and their families deserve special care and consideration. The FBI and our partners across Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire will continue to search for answers for the victims, survivors, and their families to see what motivated this individual to carry out such a senseless act of violence. From the onset of this critical incident, it's been all hands on deck. The FBI deployed approximately 500 special agents, analysts, task force officers, and support personnel to assist our partners in this investigation. In addition to this extra manpower, all our specialty teams were activated, including Evidence Response Team, SWAT, Divert, and Victim Services Response Team, just to name a few. A special thanks to you, the media, as well as to the community. My sincere thanks to Colonel Perez, Colonel Weaver, AG Nerona, Brown University PD, and all of our partners. This was truly a team effort.
This fucking... Oh my God, chat. This fucking coward. Oh my God. I didn't even know this. Oh. Okay, never mind. I was confused for a second, chat. It's not important. It's not important. Epstein files released today. The Epstein files released today. She was low, plain low, in the morning, standing 4 feet 10 in one sock, with Lolita in the background. Epstein writing Lolita quotes on a foot. And if you want to understand what America is, if you understand, like, a lot of people will criticize me and say, oh, you just think America bad. And it's like, no. You're going to sit here and listen to the reality of what America does. If you think it's bad, that's your decision to call it bad. I just tell you what America does. And one of the things America does is they help these pedophiles using your tax dollars. Epstein, Israel, and the CIA, how the Iran-Contra planes landed at Les Wexner's base. Jeffrey Epstein helped Leslie Wexner repurpose the CIA's Iran-Contra planes from arms smuggling to shipping lingerie. This week, the New York Times awoke from its slumber to publish an extensive investigation on Jeffrey Epstein that purported to put to rest the question of how the man made his money early in his career. In it, the Times dismisses the possibility that Epstein could have worked for or adjacent to intelligence agencies. Abundant conspiracy theories hold that Epstein worked for spy services or ran a lucrative blackmail operation, but we found a more prosaic explanation for how he built a fortune, the paper wrote. To the paper's credit, the journalists have put into the record some details that took an impressive effort to track down. For instance, the paper reported about Epstein's business associates in the early 80s. Epstein had been spending extravagantly, and despite his lofty compensation at Bear Stearns and his work for Douglas Lease, he found himself strapped, even occasionally bouncing rent checks. Back in New York, he joined forces with John Stanley Pottinger, a lawyer who had recently left a senior post in the Justice Department. Epstein, Pottinger, and Pottinger's brother rented a penthouse office in the Hotel St. Moritz on Central Park South. The broker, Jonah Cutler, told us that Epstein additionally stiffed her on the commission. So in other words, Jeffrey Epstein, Caleb Hammer or whatever his fucking name is, he didn't live, he wasn't only spending 10% of his money on bare necessities while he lived in a fucking refrigerator box. It looks like Epstein became a billionaire spending every dollar that ever went into his hands. I wonder how he got rich. Stanley Pottinger, as it happens, was a notable figure in the scandal that became known as Iran-Contra, in which the CIA used Israel as a middleman to move off-the-books weapons to Iran. In the early 1980s, under the CIA's supervision, Pottinger advised an Iranian banker on shipping embargoes arms to Iran using fraudulent paperwork and overseas dummy companies. In the very same period that Pottinger and Epstein worked together selling tax avoidance strategies from a penthouse by Central Park. Pottinger's system eventually gave rise to a network of covert intermediaries shipping arms around the world. The CIA's profits became a slush fund used to illegally bankroll the insurgent Contra army, who waged a war against Nicaragua's leftist government while simultaneously trafficking cocaine to the United States. And when they were waging that war, what did they do? These Contras were murdering American nuns. 4 female Catholic missionaries from the United States working in El Salvador were raped and murdered by 5 members of the El Salvador National Guard. This is who the CIA was funding, with illegal arms sales to Iran, while trafficking crack cocaine to the inner cities. Again, do you think Asmongold knows any of this shit? You think that dumb fuck piece of shit knows anything? Or maybe he thinks this is good. I don't know. I mean, maybe he thinks it's based to traffic cocaine to America's inner cities while murdering American nuns to do an illegal coup of Central American government, which, by the way, results in millions of refugees streaming to the United States as immigrants. Oh, maybe I don't know. Maybe he thinks that's good, I guess. I don't fucking know. He's too stupid to know any of this shit. The other figure from Epstein's past, Douglas Lease, meanwhile, is described by the Times as a defense contractor with extensive connections to the arms industry and the British government. What he did with those connections and where he trafficked those arms is left unexplored by the paper. A look at the Bermuda financial records and Lease's own lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Miami suggests he was working with the U.S. government and linked to a Chinese arm manufacturer. The Times also failed to note that Epstein and Lease had a mutual associate in Adnan Khashoggi, the notorious money launderer and weapons trafficker who is also a central player in the Iran-Contra affair. The Times did find that Epstein was a relentless scammer who abused expense accounts, engineered inside deals, and demonstrated remarkable knack for separating seemingly sophisticated investors and businessmen from their money. In other words, he stole his money and he used the CIA to do it. Wow, I can't believe he was a billionaire. In order to acquit Epstein of any connections to intelligence agencies, the paper of record instead crafted Epstein into an anti-Semitic caricature of historic proportions. We put this take to the Times and we were told by spokesperson Danielle Rhodes, we report on facts that we were able to confirm, not supposition. Of course, it would be extraordinary coincidence that Epstein shared a penthouse with the Iran-Contra lawyer, worked for an Iran-Contra arms dealer, and then, as we report below, moved to the Iran-Contra planes to Ohio for use by billionaire retail mogul Leslie Wexner. It may simply be a coincidence that Ehud Barak, one of Epstein's closest friends, was the head of Israel's military intelligence during the planning for Iran-Contra, and he supervised the CIA's first delivery. But it might also be something the Time should look a bit closer at if they're so inclined. Oh, this is a photo from Epstein's birthday party.
New photos from House Democrats that put Jeffrey Epstein back in the spotlight on the eve of the deadline Congress set for the Justice Department to release all the Epstein files. We just got 5 more pictures from the Epstein estate, courtesy of Democrats who are eager to keep the story in the headlines. The photos were provided without context. CNN's MJ Lee is here. MJ, can you tell us what these images show?
Yeah, Dana, first of all, I'm really glad that you said that these photographs have been released without any kind of context. We shouldn't be reading into them. What we can do is simply describe what we are seeing here. And certainly we can talk about the political context that is behind all of this as well. The photos, as you said, were just now released by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee. They were obtained from the Epstein estate, and committee Democrats also are saying that they were received without the context. So it's not as though they are holding back context that they otherwise have from the estate. So here are the 5 new photographs. First, we have, if you see up there on the screen, a woman with a quote from Lolita. This is a novel about a man sexual obsession with a 12-year-old girl. You see in the background there the actual book itself. And then we have a photo that appears to be a series of text messages sent by somebody, and again, we don't know who, discussing, quote, sending girls. Let me just read.
I don't know. Try to send someone else. I have a friend, Scout. She sent me some girls today, but she asked $1,000 per girl. I will send you girls now. Maybe someone good for Jay. Name blank, 18 years old, Departure City, Russia. These are Donald Trump's close buddies and friends. By the way, chat, famous conservative, moderate conservative New York Times columnist David Brooks wrote last month about the Epstein files. Why can't I find David Brooks's article anymore? What happened? Oh, here it is. The Epstein story, count me out. Last month by David Brooks. Never before have I been so uncertain about the future. Think of all the giant issues that confront us. Artificial intelligence, potential financial bubbles, the decline of democracy, the rise of global authoritarianism, the collapse of reading scores and general literacy, China's sudden scientific and technological dominance, Russian advances in Ukraine. I could go on and on. So what has America's political class decided to obsess over about the last several months? Jeffrey Epstein. This is a guy who's been dead for 6 years. We killed him 6 years ago. What are you guys talking about him still for? He's still dead. Come on. Come on. Anyway, he's in the Epstein files. A month ago, New York Times columnist David Brooks wrote a column decrying the media and political fixation on the Epstein story. This afternoon, House Democrats released a new tranche of photos of an event that Brooks attended with Epstein. Come on. The Epstein files, count me out. The Epstein files, count me. Oh, wait. How about we see that you're there? Was he a good buddy of yours? By the way, David Brooks famously has a wife who is 30 years or 20 years his junior. He's 64. His wife is, she's like 39. She was 32 when he met her. The 22-year age gap. And former research assistant. That's appropriate. He's been dead for 6 years and was last in touch with Donald Trump 21 years ago. Come on, guys. Stop talking about it. Look, China's scary. China. Notice how it's all about how China's scary, right? China. Oh, God. We need to do a war with China. Stop looking at the pedophile Israeli spies that I was close to.
Some of these texts, I don't know, try to send someone else. One text says, I have a friend, Scout. She sent me some girls today, but she asks $1,000 per girl. I will send you girls now. Maybe someone will be good for Jay.
Age gap discourse about a 32-year-old. That's where we're at. That's where we are. Bro, she was his assistant. They married when she was 32, which means that she was very likely in her 20s when he was in his 50s, and he was her boss. That's inappropriate, man. I'm sorry.
Redacted
It's weird.
information, I think
I didn't
we are
say you should
seeing
go
as
to
well.
prison. It's just something where you're like, ew, that's fucking weird.
About this girl, presumably.
I want to explain something, chat. Not everything that you could find weird should necessarily be illegal, but you could still say ew about it. You understand that? You could still go kind of like, ew? Like, you're allowed to be like, I don't know that I would put him in prison for it, but I think he should be fired for that. He should be fired. If I was his boss, I'd be like, you're marrying your assistant that was 20 when she met you. Yeah, you're a sexual harassment fucking risk. And he's a columnist. It's not like he's inventing fucking fusion energy research. Okay? He's a columnist for the New York Times, which means he writes bullshit. You could find a million idiots to write the same toilet paper, bog standard crap. You could find a million people willing to write that same sellout garbage.
Including age and height measurement. The next photo is what appears to be a Ukrainian woman's passport. No context there, of course, about who this
Ukrainian
person
woman
might be.
Ukrainian teenager, 18 years old. Why is CNN so interested in aging them up? So interesting. The Jeffrey Epstein victims are getting the young black suspect treatment by CNN, where they call him the 18-year-old man robbed the convenience store of a Snickers bar.
And then we have two photos, one of philosopher Noam Chomsky on a plane with Epstein, and then Bill Gates posing for a photograph with a woman, but the woman's face.
What did I tell you about anarchists, chat? What did I tell you about anarchists? Mike from PA is right again about the goddamn anarchists. The goddamn man, it is so weird that Noam Chomsky is hanging out with an Israeli spy when he spent so much of his career attacking the Soviet Union and China. Huh. So weird.
Has been redacted by the House Democrats. They've been doing this to, they say, to make sure that they are protecting the identities.
And by the way, my disagreements with Noam Chomsky ideologically are very important. I still think a lot of the idea, by the way, manufacturing consent is not just his idea. It's still a really, really good way of understanding media criticism. It's just interesting that he was so connected.
Of potential Epstein victims. And I should just be careful to note that Gates has previously said that he regrets meeting with Epstein.
The moment where I started to be a little bit more suspect of Noam Chomsky is when I saw his speech on the Russian Revolution, and it was the dumbest piece of shit thing I've ever seen in my life. It may have been the dumbest, most ahistorical description of the Russian Revolution of my entire life. Noam Chomsky hanging out with Ehud Barak, 2015. I mean, what could you say?
Whereas Chomsky has previously declined CNN's request for comment. So, Dana, there's nothing here that explicitly seems to sort of depict any kind of sexual misconduct. But again, without any kind of proper context, we have no idea what these text messages are supposed to suggest, what the significance of these images might be. But as you say, you know, this has been sort of a pattern that we have seen from House Democrats, sort of a slow rolling release of small batches at times of information that they have gotten from the Epstein estate. And Republicans on the committee have certainly accused Democrats of cherry picking certain information to release a little bit at a time for political reasons. And I do think it is an important question to sort of ask what the service might be that Democrats think they are serving by doing this in this manner when they could be releasing perhaps everything at the same time, or maybe waiting until we do have the context so we can understand what exactly we are seeing here.
Well, we're talking about it. So that gives the answer to your question. And we're doing it, I should say, not to be flip. We are doing this because it is an important news story, particularly on the eve of the important date on the calendar tomorrow, which is the DOJ is, by law, supposed to release the Epstein files. What we are seeing is perhaps, yes, sort of examples or illustration of some of what we're going to see, much of which might not have the context in and around them. it's exactly what we're getting today.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, it's not as though there is some public rollout plan that we've gotten from the Justice Department about how tomorrow might go if these files end up being released tomorrow to begin with. But we do generally expect that whenever these files are released by the Justice Department, it will be broader in scope than anything else that we have seen so far. I mean, we are talking about years and years of information that the DOJ might have access to, but we don't know, for example, Dana, what kinds of redactions are being made. You know, I've spoken to Epstein survivors who have said they've not been contacted in any way by the DOJ. Lawyers for them have said, you know, some of us have been contacted, others have not, to discuss redactions. And then I think we should be just taking a real effort to make sure the conversation is being brought back to the survivors. You know, some of them have told me that the slow rolling nature of these disclosures have been incredibly triggering because they don't know when these images might suddenly pop up on their TV screens or on the internet. And some of these images, when they see them, sort of bring them back to the moments that they experience this kind of trauma and abuse.
CNN is like, listen, guys, we can't cover the Epstein files because think of the victims. And you're like, what? And they're like, they'll be traumatized seeing the photos being promoted on the media. We should keep it quiet and we should cover it up. We should cover up all the elite billionaires and Democratic Party and Republican Party officials and Dana Bash's entire friend group. We should keep them, you know, keep it quiet.
Abuse from Jeffrey Epstein and perhaps others around him.
A very, very important note.
The Epstein files will be released over a couple of weeks. Bonding says they need more time. That's against the law. That's a violation of the law. Put her in prison.
MJ, thank you so much. Appreciate your reporting. And my smart panel is back.
I'm going to be brutally honest, chat. I think the Epstein files should be released unredacted and let the chips fall where they may. There is too much of a world interest in destroying the Israeli spying network that's dominating America and their agents than there is in protecting the reputations of their friends or whatever the fuck they're trying to do. Release every goddamn thing. But Mike, people won't want to cooperate with Israel spies anymore. Good.
Here, David Chalian.
I keep thinking as I'm listening to this and looking at these developments, what if, as Susie Wiles said, Pam Bondi did not completely whiff at the Epstein files, as the White House Chief of Staff described the Attorney General's approach in this beginning? And what if the administration sort of followed political crisis management 101, got their arms around this, put out everything, and they would be able to provide all the context around it? You wouldn't have moments like this of the House Democrats, you know, being able to like put stuff out drip by drip and create a daily headache for the administration. I know that's backward looking, but as I was just listening to MJ, I was like, the administration had an opportunity here, one, by the way, that the president's own base was demanding, to see everything and put their frame around. And they did not take that up.
Listen to what AOC said about sort of her commentary or analysis, what we're seeing out of the White House vis-a-vis what's happening in the world of the release of the Epstein. Forgive me, quote, it's not a soundbite. Reminder, here's what she said, reminder that the Epstein files are supposed to be released on Friday, and every political development that you see between now until then should be viewed.
Oh, Dana Bash is balding right now. Oh, Dana Bash is balding. Mike, this is old news already. Blanche said this morning they will not release the full files today. One of the problems that we have on the left is the not surprised guy and that's old news guy. It's actually a problem on the left. I'm not surprised that they're not doing this thing. Why are you getting worked up? Because being worked up is important to signal to other beings, because we're social creatures. I'm going to, okay, let's just autistically break this down. I'm going to explain it to you. No one's ever explained it to you. You probably learn better from people explaining stuff as opposed to emotional expression. So I'm going to teach you about other humans, okay? Human beings have mirror neurons, which means that when a person is expressing an emotion, you will feel that emotion will start to go to you, and you will start to feel that emotion as well. And so when I am arguing a certain point of view and I'm getting worked up and I'm outraged, it's more likely that you will also feel outraged if I am performing a little bit of outrage. Okay, so being a not surprised guy, being a apathetic, like the way that you are expressing yourself right now, signals to other people not to care, right? And just to sit back and go, well, I guess they're not being released. That's wrong. See, we want people to be mad that they're hiding the Epstein files because it's good for us politically. So even though I always knew, I'm not surprised they're trying to hold them back because look how bad they already are. I'm going to perform for you outrage about it, and we're going to do humor about it, and we're going to lean in because that's going to help other people who are just starting to pay attention to the story feel the same outrage and be like, what the fuck? Why are they covering this up? But if I perform like apathetic, like, I'm not surprised, you're going to perform that same emotion. Does that make sense? So I need to maintain my righteous outrage, even though intellectually I'm not surprised, because it's important that we spread more righteous outrage so that we could advance our goals politically. Are we good? Do we understand human beings and other human beings? Agitprop 101. Exactly. I'm not. And the reason why the left fails so much is because a lot of the people that are in the left because of their, personality quirks. You are not as susceptible to some of these social cues as others. A lot of people that are on the left happen to be autistic because autistic people tend to have a more structured view. There's also autistic empathy, where you'll show empathy even though it's against social convention because of a way of looking at the world that's a little bit more rigid, morally rigid, which is good. You're being morally rigid. That's good. But you also need to learn how to express emotions socially, and it's something you can work on. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better. I'm 40 and I'm still learning how to be a better communicator and a better, more empathetic, and to kind of like learn how to socialize. I'm behind the curve on a lot of stuff. I'm sure most of you are too. And so I am performing. So thank you. It's old news that this morning, by the way, it's 8:15. So you use the phrase old news to describe something that happened at 8:15 this morning. It's old news, by the way. That the Trump administration is violating the law and not releasing the Epstein files. LOL, I'm sorry. I understand what you're saying. I'm afraid from doing it again. By the way, no, it's okay. It's okay. We're learning together. Mistakes are fun. I'm not saying this to like bust you up. I don't think anybody thinks you're an idiot or anything. They're just saying like, it's like, oh, okay. I've decided instead of getting annoyed by people being annoying, I've decided I want to try to explain to them why they are annoying. Is that fucked up? Like instead of me like yelling at chat, and I think it's because I watch Hassan. A lot of the times Hassan yells at chat in a way that's like very circular, emotional, like where he's like, "You guys are so fucking annoying!" Ah! And like when I see that, I'm like, he's right, but I don't think he's helping the chat. Like I think he should like just explain to the chat what they're doing wrong. That would do better. So instead of, I don't want to tell him what to do. He's far more successful of a streamer than me. So maybe he knows what he's doing far better than I do. But in my community, I think maybe I want to explain to people why they're being annoying instead of just calling them annoying and being a piece of shit about it. I do think you need to bully chat sometimes. I've been reflecting on myself and my presentation, and I'm like, I think I do the best when the vibes are good, when I'm explaining stuff in depth and we're learning together. I think that's when my community is the most valuable to people. I think when I'm yelling at people or being a little bit cold, that's actually where I'm getting an L. And that's where I alienate the most people. If people don't like me, it's probably because they saw me when I was like either very pissed off or you know what I mean? Bad vibes kind of shit. So I need to do better at reserving that for our enemies like Asmongold. And it is what it is. It is what it is. None of us are perfect. I think one of the things about life in general, if I had one suggestion, is it's just like never stop learning and never stop critiquing yourself and going, am I living my best life? Luckily for me, I have some really great friends around me who are very self-reflective and focused on perfecting themselves, which is honestly what good socialists do. I think one of the problems that Bernie Sanders has is he's not trying to perfect himself. I think he compares himself to like all the other scum around him, and then he just like kind of stays the same, which, you know, versus everybody else, yeah, that sucks, but they suck ass. But my first time was when you cooked Voice Critical. I mean, he deserved to get cooked. That guy's overperformative, terminally online leftists. We know who they are. We know who the performative leftists are. We know. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah, I think that it's also, yes, and also what the president did when he signed the legislation from Congress to release these files, I remember he really framed it as the Democrats are too focused on this, I want to move on, get it out, and whatnot. But as David points out, this is something that his own Justice Department could have done months ago. He didn't have to be forced by this bipartisan majority in the House and the Senate to release these files. And I think the whole episode, you know, politically speaking, really showed just the weakness of two leaders of the Republican Party. One obviously being Trump, that he let this, you know, what he didn't want for so long actually happen, and also the weakness of Mike Johnson. I mean, clearly the rank and file overrode him. He did not want this on the floor. He followed the wishes of the president to not put this up for a vote, and it just really, and this is kind of also where the dam started breaking. We saw breaks from Republicans, breaks coming from Republicans to Donald Trump on a lot of other issues. Obviously, it could be related to his poll numbers, which aren't very good right now. But this is really, you know, almost a seminal episode of this. Of the saga, if you will, between the Republican Party and Donald Trump.
I think that's actually a really great point. You obviously cautious with connecting trend lines or different elements that you're seeing, but this was the first time I think everybody looked around and thought, oh, there are some Republicans, not a ton, but there are some Republicans, at least initially, who are willing to buck kind of the leader that no one in any way questioned in public, and to a large degree in private, more so than I'd ever seen before over the course of the 8 months. The thing though, and I'm really glad, MJ wrote a really great story about this, and it was the last point is the survivors here and the elements of it. I think when the last week's photos came out, I looked at them purely through the probably subconscious, cynical lens of this is Democrats trying to ensure that this stays front and center to pressure the Justice Department, but also to ensure that people are still focused on this going into the DOJ deadline. MJ's great story, and what she was talking about and what I'd heard from Epstein survivors last week was the triggering nature of it, the personal nature of it, the visceral nature of photos, seeing places in the backgrounds of photos where they had been or people that they had been connected to. And the importance of remembering what underpins all of this, which I think has probably never been shown better than those text messages that MJ just read through, which are disgusting and inhumane.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Bada Padada has said he's not a socialist and he doesn't care about revolution. So that's when I stopped liking that guy.
Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know who that man is.
But I would love to get a photo with him.
I'm sorry, who's here? Jeffrey Epstein? The man with the evil island? I've heard some very bad things.
Would he take a photo with me, though?
No, sorry, I can't make it tonight. I have dinner with this
mysterious man who I've never heard of before, yet I'm giving my time to.
Jeffrey Epstein. Have you heard of him?
We will be taking a photo together.
Yes, I do run a giant tech corporation, and I take it very seriously. But if 90% of my time is not spent taking photos with Jeffrey Epstein,
then what is it all for?
I just want to make
it. By the way, can I just say this? Hassanabi is by far and away one of the kindest people I've ever met. Literally. I've never met somebody who seemingly always is patient, and he doesn't Hollywood people. You know how crazy that is? That a guy with his platform will listen to people with like no following when they are talking because he values what they're saying and he thinks it's smart. Like, I don't think you guys understand how lucky we are that he is the biggest leftist influencer. Why the fuck is it showing me what I may like? What the fuck?
Clear, though, that I do not know no one knows who this man is, but we all need to get a photo with him for some goddamn reason. I'm sorry, what's her name?
Ghislaine Maxwell?
I don't know who that is, but her name starts with Jizz, so...
Get her in the photo op.
Jeffrey Epstein.
You know, you know who's not in the Epstein files so far? Bernie.
Them a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan. I was not, a long time ago. I'd say maybe 15 years. I was not a fan of his. That I can tell you. I was not a fan of his.
Except when I was. Hi again, everybody. It's 5 o'clock in New York. From, quote, terrific guy to, quote, not a fan, Donald Trump has had
every answer when asked about his relationship with the deceased sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein. Now, on the eve of the deadline for the Justice Department to release the Epstein files in their entirety, the New York Times is out with some extraordinary, brand new, exhaustive reporting that could just be the tip of the iceberg on describing the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. The reporting is based on more than 30 interviews with Epstein's employees, survivors, and people who have crossed paths with the two men. From that report, quote, over the years, Mr. Epstein or his partner, Ghislaine Maxwell, introduced at least 6 women who have accused them of grooming or abuse to Mr. Trump, according to interviews, court testimony, and other records. One was a minor at the time. None have accused Mr. Trump himself of inappropriate behavior. One of the women, who has never before spoken publicly about the experience, told the New York Times that Mr. Epstein had coerced her into attending 4 parties at Mr. Epstein's home. Mr. Trump attended all 4, the woman said. At 2 of them, she said Mr. Epstein directed her to have sex with other male guests. The New York Times notes that they have found no evidence implicating Trump in Epstein's abuse and trafficking of minors, but that the two men's relationship was far closer and more complex than Trump has admitted. According to that new reporting, the two bonded over the fact that, quote, neither man drank or did drugs. They pursued women in a game of ego and dominance. Female bodies were currency, end quote. And on their pursuit of women, one woman telling the New York Times this, quote, I just think it was trophy hunting. While Trump can claim to somehow forget or rebrand his friendship with Epstein or his attendance at those 4 parties of Jeffrey Epstein's, women do not forget him. Quote, one woman, then a model and college student in her early 20s living in Manhattan, said she attended 4 parties at the mansion. She cannot recall the names of most of the men she met at the gatherings, not even those Mr. Epstein directed her to, quote, take care of at 2 of them. Recruited by Ms. Maxwell and then abused by Mr. Epstein, she buried her shame and kept their secrets for years. But Mr. Trump's presence stood out, she told the Times. He was a household name, someone Mr. Epstein often bragged about to the women around him, yet also seemed to compete with, quote, it was like a pissing contest. Who had the most women, she recalled. She spoke anonymously to describe her experiences in detail, saying she feared for her family's safety after Mr. Trump said some of his critics could be executed for sedition. New information about the bond between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump under scrutiny ahead of the release of the Epstein files is where we start the hour. Some of our favorite reporters and friends. New York Times reporter Nick Compas.
How many of the, okay, you guys, did you ever meet Epstein? Did you meet Epstein? Did you ever meet Epstein? I swear to God, you better never have met Epstein. That's what they're all yelling at each other behind the scenes right now. Are you in these files?
Story is here. He's bylined on that stunning new piece of reporting we just read from. He's also a political analyst for our network. Also joining us, Tara Palmieri. She writes the Red Letter on Substack. She has hosted 2 acclaimed podcast series on the Epstein case. They are called Broken, Jeffrey Epstein, and Power, the Maxwells. Harry Litman is here. He's a former Deputy Attorney General and former U.S. Attorney. He is the host of the Talking Feds podcast. And perhaps most importantly, Danielle Bensky is here. She's one of the Epstein survivors who has bravely shared her story. She's done it here. We're so happy she's back. And she has been advocating for transparency from whoever's in power, in this case, the Trump administration. Danny, we can call you Danny?
Yeah.
I am always upset when I read these stories, but to read them sitting next to you is like next level. How are you?
Yeah, thank you
we're
for
going
asking.
to.
I think it's,
At some point.
these days are so hard on survivors because we just don't know what is going to come out and when.
Don't worry. I like the red pen stuff. I watch it when I feel like it, but I definitely will watch it. Just understand that the Epstein files release day or not release day is probably not the day that I should cut out of news coverage to watch that. You know what I mean? Like I'm just telling you that it's best for me to like farm new viewers right now than it is to like break off and do a really deep theory stream, even though I do that.
And we anticipate so much for Friday. We're hoping for so much on Friday.
The deadline to release.
The deadline to release is tomorrow. And so I think we survivors have really been it's that feeling of waiting in line where you know you have to wait, right? So you set yourself up to be able to wait. And then when you see these bits and pieces and you're told maybe it won't happen, or there are so many variables here that it's really hard to brace yourself for 1,000 different outcomes, A through Z. So I think survivors are really feeling that right now, and tension is very high.
One of the things that you and other survivors have helped me understand is that it is the push for transparency and accountability that has some of you together, but that you're not like some monolithic group that has like a morning staff meeting, like how are we going to achieve accountability and transparency after a gazillion years?
That's right.
And so are some of these relationships still new? And just can you tell me a little bit about what that is like to go through this with people that you may not have even have known went through the same thing?
It's such an important thing to talk about because each survivor has their own experience and it's all very unique. We're in different locations, we come from different backgrounds, different places, and we had this extraordinary moment where we all fought together. And there is a sisterhood in that, and it really does bond you. Like, I love these women. There is such an extreme bond between us where it's like, if I knew I couldn't be there at some point for my child, 5 other people would step in, you know, and it's just incredible to have that. And we needed that strength. And it wasn't just within the Epstein-Maxwell survivor community. It was really the survivor community as a whole. We were getting all these emails. We were getting all these calls from people that had never faced what happened to them. And they're saying, like, you're doing this for women everywhere. And there's so much power in that moment. And now that we're getting closer, it feels like now we have to retreat to our own stories a little bit more because we're all looking for very different things, and that can bring up some very different things. This was classic sex trafficking, right? And a lot of people don't understand what that means. And there were people that were forced to recruit and heavily manipulated into, so there are all these layers, right? And people are dealing with a lot. So I think as a survivor community, we are really trying to figure out what is the best way to support one another through this time and give people the space that they need, or for the verbal processors, how can we be supportive of that? But just really caring for one another. It's a lot of calls all day with a lot of different survivors and a lot of different groups, but just really checking in on one another is where it starts.
Are there people who hadn't talked about this? I mean, I know there are. I mean, there are people who hadn't told their close circle now as women about what happened to them as girls. Are you in that category, or what has this been like for you?
So for me, you know, I came forward in 2021, and it was sort of, it was on a whim. I had gone to thank my lawyer, Sigrid McCauley. I love her, and we had worked together on things. So I went to Guylain's hearing in 2021 with no intention of coming forward. And I just wanted to be present to start to face my own story. And because it had been a long time of just hiding in shame. The secrets all hide, you know, in the dark. And so I was just trying to bring everything forward. And in that moment when I came forward, I, you know, was on the steps of the, not the Capitol, but we were on the courthouse. Thank you. So we're on the steps of the courthouse and we're leaving, and there are a bunch of reporters who were saying, is it Virginia? Because I was masked at the time. And Sigrid said, no, this is another Epstein survivor. And we had just spoken about Virginia Giuffre and her power and the original survivors that came forward. And I just felt like this amazing sensation of, it's my turn to, like, I need to help pass the torch. They carried this burden for so long. Maria Farmer, Annie Farmer, Jenna Lisa, like these people who just were tremendous in all these efforts, that I felt like if I don't say something, more girls are gonna feel like the way I've been living and living in this shame. So it's time.
Do you think about Virginia now as you head the deadline tomorrow?
Like every day. Yeah. This moment would have been everything to her. I think it's such a shame that she was not here to see what happened with Prince Andrew and see the level of accountability that American people are pushing for. And I think she'd be proud of her survivor sisters. And I think that there, you know, not a moment goes by that all of us feel like, you know, we carry her message all the time.
And now let's bring in an attorney who represents.
Brace Belton with Jeffrey Epstein. At the time, I was faculty at MIT Media Lab, working on what would become online downloadable radio. Epstein's funding was crucial for our work. I only met him 36 times. People posting AI photos of them with Epstein is not, that's not, I get the humor, but that's not okay. That's not something you want to do. That's not what you want to do. A lot of public officials will have to answer for their actions. Epstein's victim's lawyer? What?
Epstein survivor Spencer Kuvin. Spencer, thanks so much for taking the time. The DOJ has had weeks to comply with this law and to release files. Are you surprised they've waited until deadline day?
No, not surprised at all. As we've heard from your other panelists, you know, this is hundreds and thousands of documents that they're having to go through. And I have to point out, you know, one of the things that the victims are concerned about are obviously privacy. But there's another perspective to this. I have a grave concern that there is going to be an over-redaction of information. And by that, what I mean is that there are a number of victims that are clearly victims, but other individuals, including individuals that have been listed on the non-prosecution agreement, are claiming that they're victims as well. So my concern is that the government is going to over-redact information and fail to release relevant information that the public needs to see.
How are survivors that you represent feeling about this moment, and what are they going to be looking for in these files?
A lot of them are concerned. A lot of them are very concerned that the government is going to fail to properly protect their identities. So they have grave concerns given what they've seen in the past and mistakes that have happened in the past for disclosure of information. So their hope is that the general public will not be able to see their identities, but will be able to see the perpetrators and what they've done. And they're very concerned about wanting the public to see the videos from the inside of the mansions to show the perpetrators involved.
You've had access to some of the materials that the public hasn't before this because of your representation of some of these survivors. Just set our expectations here. Should people expect these materials to provide answers or to raise more questions and frustration and, frankly, pain?
I think it's going to be a little of both. I think there's going to be information that gets disclosed that'll be half information, where the public is going to, you know, draw conclusions or make assumptions based upon photographic evidence or whatnot that they see. But I do know that if the government does release the videos that it has of the internal surveillance from inside Epstein's homes, there will be a lot of questions that are answered. And I think there will be a lot of shock, and there are going to be a lot of public officials that will have to answer for their actions.
Yeah, once this information is out there, do you think your clients or other survivors could have the grounds to lodge new civil complaints against people or even to press charges?
It's highly doubtful that there could be any additional civil litigation coming from this. I'm not saying that it is impossible, but realistically speaking, I think there might be some press for the government to prosecute other individuals. And again, this will be based upon what the government actually releases.
Yesterday, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released more photos that were handed over by the Epstein estate, and that's as their investigation continues. And here's one of them. This batch included a photo showing a quote from the novel Lolita written on someone's foot. And we should note, Lolita is a novel about the sexual exploitation of a young girl. Spencer, your reaction to this image and the latest photos?
Sadly, after dealing with this for almost 20 years now, it's not surprising. These are the types of photographs. This is the type of evidence that unfortunately the victims' attorneys like myself have been looking at for almost 20 years. And it is why the victims, as well as counsel for the victims, have been pushing so hard for the public to see this disgusting material so that they can hopefully prevent something like this from ever occurring again, and certainly to hopefully prevent an administration or wealthy, powerful individuals from protecting these types of actions of other friends of themselves. I mean, other famous and wealthy individuals.
We know they want accountability, according to the survivors we've spoken to. And the one person who has been held accountable is Ghislaine Maxwell, who was convicted by a jury for her actions involving Epstein in sex trafficking. Now she just filed a habeas petition making 9 arguments for why her conviction should be vacated. Do you think it will succeed?
No. Habeas petitions are kind of a Hail Mary with respect to a criminal defendant, but I have confidence that that will fail. And, you know, look, on behalf of the victims, it is despicable that Ms. Maxwell is getting such preferential treatment, even though she's behind bars. This is a woman who was convicted of lying under oath and of sex trafficking. She deserves to be behind bars, frankly, for the.
I mean, the fact that Republicans are like, yeah, Trump can pardon a sex trafficker, rapist, pedophile. That's crazy, dude. Like, that's below even what I thought. No, dude, no. No, I don't think this is funny. I honestly don't think this is funny. Like, he can laugh all he wants, but I don't think it's funny.
Stop. You guys are such fucking assholes. Jesus Christ. You can accuse me of many things, but you can't accuse me of being a libertarian in any way, shape, or form. I am not an anarchist, okay? So that's the one thing. Multiple angles, bub. Y'all are such fucking assholes, dude. Y'all are such douchebags, bro. Why do I need fucking haters, man? I got literally the worst. I got 33,000 of the worst haters.
By the way, chat, prepare yourself for a Mike was right moment. Everybody get your Mike was rights rolling. This is incredible. My very first stream on this platform was a debate with Destiny about how libertarian, like fiscally conservative, socially liberal people do not exist. And that the best way to try to win over Trump voters, Obama Trump voters, was to have a strong economically left-wing message and de-emphasize identity politics and identity as the way of connecting with that specific group of voters. However, you can still use identity appeals in the communities where it is appropriate. If you're talking to immigrants and immigrant communities, then you would talk about your immigration policy. If you're talking to trans people, you would talk about having a very pro-trans policy. If you're talking about other communities, you address their problems directly. And the evidence that I provided is still there. If you go back and watch my first debate with Destiny, you'll see it was exactly on this topic, which is basically left-wingers broadly all have similar economic views. Education varies their social views. Right-wingers, by contrast, broadly all have similar cultural views. Education varies their economic views. So in other words, right-wingers aren't like what they call right-wingers. They mean people who vote for Republicans. And most people a large percentage of people who vote Republican are actually, vote for right-wing parties, actually hold left-wing economic views. This is a new study, and this is of the Brits. And as you can see, there are no libertarians. Libertarians do not exist. This is right-wing on social views, right-wing on economic views. This is left-wing on economic views, right-wing on social views. This is left-wing on economic views and left-wing on social views. As you can see, there are no major political voting blocks that are libertarian. None. And this is what I've been saying for years and years and years. And if we pull up my very first, if we go to my YouTube and go to my very first post, you'll see that I've been making this argument for 7 fucking years. There it is. There it is. I've been making this argument since the very, very, very first post on this stream. The very first stream, the very first YouTube video. It's right fucking there. I just wanted to point that out because we are now living through a period where more and more people are coming toward me. And I feel like the person who was right all along should get some credit. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I think if the person who was right all along should probably get boosted more than the people that are changing their minds 7 years later. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm fucking crazy. Egomaniac shit doesn't help either. How is it egomaniac to point out that I was correct? What the fuck? That's not egomania. That's called claiming credit. That's me saying, this is good news. People are starting to agree with us. If you think that's being an egomaniac, you're just talking to a streamer who's never been right about anything, so they could never beat their chest because they're fucking stupid.
Rest of her life, the way that she victimized so many young girls in this process.
Spencer Kuvin, thank you very much for taking the time. We appreciate your insights and your perspective.
Who's Destiny? He's a former political streamer who's facing a lot of legal trouble for being a sex pest. He doesn't really matter. He doesn't really believe in anything. He's just kind of like an old school Twitch streamer. He got banned years ago from Twitch. kind of irrelevant. Me defeating him in a debate was my first stream. So he's kind of irrelevant, but it doesn't matter. It shows how many people mistakenly attach ego to being right or wrong, which is a barrier to learning. Exactly. I'm not saying that I'm right because I'm better. I'm trying to say that I'm right because I am trustworthy. So you can listen to my analysis because it's true. It's way ahead of the curve. Who's mad?
These Epstein files we are all waiting for. Welcome back. This morning, survivors are waiting for a moment.
New Hassan video on the subject dropped. Okay, we can watch this. New Epstein photos hit the timeline.
A month ago, New York Times columnist David Brooks wrote a column decrying the media and political fixation on the Epstein story. This afternoon, House Democrats released a new tranche of photos of an event that Brooks attended with Epstein. That's awesome. Hey guys, don't look into this thing, okay? Don't look into it too far, please. A New York Times spokesperson on why Brooks didn't mention the meeting in his column. As a journalist, David Brooks regularly attends events to speak with noted and important business leaders to inform his columns, which is exactly what happened at this 2011 event. Mr. Brooks had no...
I think it's more egomaniacal to try to stop people from claiming credit for when they got something correct than it is for a person who got something correct to say, hey, I got this right. I think saying, hey, I got this right is normal. I think trying to shut other people up from claiming credit for being correct is that's weird to me. To me, that's fucking weird. And by the way, it's not because I want to create a cult of Mike is always right. It's not Mike is always right. It's Mike was right about something. I also have Mike was wrong. You know, when I'm wrong, by the way, I like to correct it because it's important. I'll give you an example of what I got wrong. I thought that Donald Trump endorsing people would not get Republicans to show up in these odd year elections, and I was wrong. When Donald Trump got involved, he really did push up Republican turnout in these elections in 2025, which was surprising. It happened in Tennessee and it happened in New York City. When Trump endorsed Cuomo, most Republicans switched their vote to Cuomo. I didn't think that would happen, but it did. So that was something that was surprising, is that the Republican Party base is actually a lot more in lockstep with Trump's wishes than you would think. And I updated my priors. I realized, oh no, the Republican Party is even more of a Trump cult than I already thought. But that was a minor error because, you know, ultimately Zoran won a majority. You know, he slightly underperformed what I thought because of that tendency. And the turnout in Staten Island was higher than I thought it was going to be. But again, largely the main arguments, which was Zoran was going to win, nobody else was saying that when I was saying it. You have to understand. I think in part of this is that that is unappealing for Mike, is that he gets a big chip on his shoulder about getting other people getting more clout for something that him, despite him being right sooner. Yes, that's annoying, but how's the world? That's how the world is, and here you complain about it is unappealing. I mean, I understand why you would say that's unappealing. It's kind of weird of you to say that. I think as a fan of mine, you should be like, I'm going to do my best to kind of promote you in a positive fashion to other people because I've valued your insights. I think it's wrong of you to be, it's like I come up with something and somebody else steals my idea and gets credit, and me being frustrated about that is bad. That's fucking weird. That's weird. Do you steal other people's ideas and take credit for them? Do you steal other people's like shit and then get credit? Like what? How the fuck? What are you talking about? That is the weirdest of all fucking things to say. How was that ever unappealing? What the fuck? That's the weirdest things I've ever seen. What the fuck are you talking about? That's weird. The most charitable interpretation I have for other streamers disliking the Mike was right refrain is the use that other people's chat can be, I don't know, annoying. That's their ego. Sorry, that's their ego. If somebody posted in my chat, Hassan was right, about a take that Hassan was famously getting shit for that turned out to be true, I would be like, hell yeah, Hassan was right. I would not be mad at you for saying Hassan was right. That's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy. What? If Hassan and I disagreed about something and it turned out Hassan was right and I was wrong and people said Hassan was right, I would be like, you're goddamn right he was. That's why I like him as my friend. He's a smart guy. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I think if somebody is mad about another streamer getting credit, they probably just don't like that streamer. Like and they're really revealing their own like personal opinion. That's really what it is. It's like they feel like the other person is competition, so they don't want their competition to be seen as better at political streaming or whatever the fuck. Like that's really. And by the way, a lot of you have parasocial feelings for streamers, and so you're trying to shine what they're saying in the best possible light, and it's like you probably shouldn't do that. Anyway, long story short, Wow, what a tangent. I was just pointing out that something this community has been spreading for a long time is getting more academic support, and people changed the subject to like narcissists saying Mike's not allowed to call himself right about things. That's so fucking weird. Why'd you guys ruin the vibes, man? You fucking threw the vibes off. Holy shit, you threw the vibes off. That's crazy. Vibes terrorism. I should honestly have just timed you out for that.
No contact with him before or after the single attendance at a widely attended dinner. Also, to all marveling at photos of New York Times columnists,
the vibes are back. The vibes are great.
David Brooks dining with Jeffrey Epstein. 2 years after Epstein finished his sentence for procuring a child for prostitution, here's what it was. The 2011 Edge Billionaires Dinner. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos were there too. Wait, is this guy serious? Okay, never mind. I thought this person was actually trying to defend David Brooks, but I think they are, also attacking other billionaires as well. I hope this person is not actually trying to somehow defend David Brooks here. I can't tell. There is more Noam photos. Oh my God. New photos of the House Oversight Committee of Noam Chomsky speaking directly with Jeffrey Epstein. Brother, what the The House Oversight Committee has just released several more photos of this billionaire's dinner, including this one, which Epstein and Musk are in the same spot. You know what's really crazy about this? They love taking photos. Like every billionaire and every millionaire, every super wealthy, super connected elite, for some weird reason, would never dare to be around Jeffrey Epstein without photographers everywhere. Okay. They were like, hey, the shadowy dark rooms with cigar smoke. Okay. We should do this in
the. You think Chomsky was an Israeli asset? I think that Chomsky had a bias toward Israel. I don't think he was necessarily an asset, but I think he had a bias toward Israel. That's what I think. I think that, and there's a lot of liberal Zionism. There was a type of binationalist Zionism that used to exist that does not exist. I don't want to get into explaining what the ideas were because they're extinct. No one really is advancing it, so it doesn't even matter. The essence of is you still supported the Jewish colonization of Palestine, but the kind of like, but leftistly, that movement has largely died out in favor of Israeli fascism. So I don't even really want to talk about that stuff anymore because ultimately it ended up being supportive of the colonization effort. So it's really pointless. And one of the things that sucks about America is there's a lot of people that have all these esoteric private opinions about how Israel could be good, which would in no way is related to reality. And they use it to justify supporting the current Israeli state. And in their mind, they have their idea of what Israel could be. And so they justify the genocide by saying, I don't want to, you're destroying my idea of a good Israel. And it's like, that Israel does not exist. So I don't even want to bother talking about it.
Most lit fluorescent light bulb having restaurants where there are photographers everywhere. If you're going to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein, you have to make sure there are photographers present. Like you can be on a private jet. You can be on a private jet. You can be on a PJ with Jeffrey and make sure we get flicked up, big dog. Make sure we get flicked up. Old people love scrapbooks. It's nuts, dude. It's so funny because especially in this one, Noam kind of looks like me on that one PJ with David Dobrik when I was leaving Coachella, and I turn around and I'm high as he's looking right at the camera like, oh, what's going on? Look at these two besties. I know. It's so cooked. It's so cooked, dude. It's so cooked. I saw someone say not one person was like, guys, I don't think we should be taking so many photos, Lamau. Especially when you're in an environment like that. That is probably the highest likelihood that you are surrounded by at least one pedophile, okay? Like statistically, if you're going to a billionaire super donor meal, you are probably way more likely to be around someone who is genuinely evil. So why are you just like, oh, I can't wait to snap up. Hey, let's get flicked up, big dog. Love that. Love that for you. Love that for me. Let's go. We're all besties. And I've already talked about this before. Part of it is because, this was Jeffrey Epstein's job, right? Was to be the network between all these people and also, photograph everything. And the other reason why a lot of these people seemingly did not give a shit about being photographed smiling for an event like this was because they felt untouchable. They felt completely untouchable. They're like, who the going to do anything. Just in, House Oversight, Democrats have published fresh photos taken inside of Jeffrey Epstein's estate showing a Ukrainian passport, a censored image of Bill Gates with a woman, text referencing the delivery of girls, and a foot tattooed with a line from Lolita. Also, Bilbo Baggins. How many times was this motherfucker hanging out with Jeffrey, bro? When we first got an inclination.
I think Bill Gates, like, in a blow to the left, somehow Bill Gates got associated with like vaccines. And the reality is this guy is evil as fuck and sus as fuck. And I want him to stay as far. He's a billionaire. We want to take every dollar he has. Okay. I think most of the stuff he's supported is absolute dog shit, except with the possible exception of like mosquito nets, which is like 0.001% of the work he does.
That old Bilbo Baggins over here, old Bilbo bitch tits, not Bill Burr, was hanging out. It was his wife, his ex-wife, that kind of, you know, really called his ass out a little bit, okay? And was like, this is not great. Now I thought she was using this as a way to just do a massive PR hit to Bilbo while they were going through this divorce, right? But what I find really strange is it turns out this mother was hanging out nonstop. He was all over Jeffrey. Every time you find out, it's same with Noam Chomsky. You find out Noam Chomsky at first, a couple years ago, you find out that maybe Noam Chomsky actually met with Jeffrey Epstein's butler when he was in France. And you're like, that's strange. Did that happen? Why did that happen? And then it's never once, and it's never with someone that's just like kind of connected with Jeffrey Epstein. You're literally like every tranche that comes out, every new massive reveal that comes out, there's another photo with Noam Chomsky and Jeffrey Epstein. Then there's a photo with Noam Chomsky and Steve Bannon. Then there's another photo, but this time Noam Chomsky's on
like if I was in the same room with fucking Steve Bannon, you know what I wouldn't be doing? Smiling. You know what I would be doing? I'd be doing a fucking have you guys ever seen the Sherlock Holmes movies with what's his face? Fuck. Robert Downey Jr. I'd be like drawing up some fucking plans. Okay? This is what I'm talking about. You know, this is what I think of. This is the culture of the aughts. We watched it and then it completely went into the ether, never to be talked about again.
That's it, big man. We're done. You won. Congratulations. Oi, we ain't done yet.
This mustn't register on an emotional level. First, distract target. Then block his blind jab. Counter with cross to left cheek. Discombobulate. Dazed, will attempt wild haymaker. Employ elbow block. And body shot. Block ferrule left. Weaken right jaw. Now fracture. Break cracked ribs. Traumatize solar plexus. Dislocate jaw entirely. Heel kick to diaphragm. In summary, ears ringing, jaw fractured, 3 ribs cracked, 4 broken, diaphragm hemorrhaging. Physical recovery 6 weeks. Full psychological recovery 6 months. Capacity to spit it back of head neutralized.
That's what you should be. If you're in the same room with Steve Bannon, just think Robert Downey Jr. Smiling ear to ear like this. Like, Jesus Christ. I've never like find someone who smiles at you like Noam Chomsky smiles at Steve Bannon. Jesus. This is how you know they're infatuated. If you're at a bar and someone saddles up to you with this fucking smile, they want it.
Photo with Noam Chomsky and Steve Bannon. Then there's another photo, but this time Noam Chomsky's on the Chomo Express. How is that possible? What's next? Are we gonna see Noam sucking on Jeffrey's toes in the next photo? Him sitting on the dentist chair in just his tidy whities? Like, what the is happening? Noam Chomsky hanging out with Ehud Barak in 2015. Chomsky choosing to stain his legacy by befriending an Israeli war criminal via Epstein is sad, but also contemptible in light of his undercutting of the BDS movement. Good memories, Chomsky to Epstein and Barak. Bro, stop answering every email. I mean, it's too late. He's like 950 years old. I don't even think he's able to answer emails now, but like, what the hell, man? Some emails you don't answer. Stop. You guys are such ass. Jesus Christ. You can accuse me of many things, but you can't accuse me of being a libertarian in any way, shape, or form. I am not an anarchist. So that's the one thing. Multiple angles, bub. Y'all are such ass, dude. Y'all are such douchebags, bro. Why do I need haters, man? I got 33,000 of the worst haters in here right now. Oh, come on. You know how sometimes people will be, how many angles did you make? Sometimes people ask me the question.
This is where the fans are the biggest haters. This is where your fans are your biggest haters. I don't have a sense of humor. I will not laugh at your attempts. I will not post them. I will block you. I will ban you. Do not make them. They're not funny. They're not a good idea. Misinformation spreads faster than the people think. Like, we'll see joke posts and they'll think it's real. I think Hassad is wild for laughing at this. I think Hassad is wild for laughing at this.
Like, what percentage of your audience
make mic ones now? Take an hour off.
You think are actually hate watching right now? I have the answer. It's called 100%. 100%. Y'all need to stop. You guys make jokes like this, and then my haters take them, and then they blast them everywhere. And in this day and age, because people are so stupid, they believe it, dude. They straight up believe it. Not our fault you were on the plane, little bro. Wow, I'm a new viewer. This is very damning. How many photos did you take? But yeah, the point is, when you find out anyone, and I mean anyone, is in any way, shape, or form publicly connected to Jeffrey Epstein or was around Jeffrey Epstein at a public event or something, just know that there is going to be probably 15 more photos minimum. I just saw on Barry Weiss's The Free Press that you were on the plane with Chomsky and Jeffrey. Do you have a defense? First of all, if I was on the plane with Jeffrey Epstein and Noam Chomsky, Barry Weiss would be coming to my defense. Okay, make no mistake. The Free Press would be promoting me as like a hero and how one of the more tolerant voices that is somewhat critical of Israel, but not that critical ultimately. And we should actually open space for a diversity of opinion. The Epstein story, count me out. Not so fast, David. House Dems will release more photos provided the oversight committee from Jeffrey Epstein's estate. What is this? Here's a weirdest picture with Jeffrey Epstein and some women. Oh my God, brother. What the hell? More Bill Gates, more Bill Gates, more Bilbo. I swear to God, dude, these guys, it was so exciting for them, I think. Cause it's like, you do it once, you're like, oh man, I'm hooked. I have to hang out with the pedophile sex trafficker, dude. He is such great company. This kind of blows my mind, dude. How does one man have so much time to do so many social functions? Like, I don't even understand what this guy's social calendar looked like. Bilbo, when he was outed as being connected to Jeffrey Epstein by his now ex-wife, by the way, straight up turned around and was like, oh, we just met one time barely. Don't even know the guy. Hate the guy, actually. Hate the guy. Please do not assume that I was pictured in a million different photos with Jeffrey Epstein, the prolific international sex trafficker of children as well as adults. This is a Lolita tattoo on the foot of someone with the Lolita book in the background. For those of you who don't know, obviously Lolita is a story about pedophilia. That's also part of the reason why it's titled Brace Belden with Jeffrey Epstein. TrueAnon responds, at the time I was faculty at MIT Media Lab working on what would become the online.
Guys, the only thing I want to see from Asmongold is whether or not he gets treatment for his senile squalor syndrome. That's all I want to see. He may be the most mentally ill streamer. That's what, the funniest thing about Asmongold is he throws out the term mentally ill. And it's like, bro, you have the most diagnosable mental. I could diagnose it from fucking across the country. I could diagnose this shit from across the country. Senile squalor syndrome is a disorder characterized by extreme self-neglect, domestic squalor, social withdrawal, apathy, and compulsive hoarding of garbage. It's so funny to be a lolcow that goes around trying to name other people lolcows. The Asmongold Express.
Downloadable radio. Epstein funding was crucial for our work.
Actually, my dad was an asshole too. At the end of the day, like, my general feeling about Asmondad is he didn't know me. I mean, he probably watched a lot of me and Hassan over the years, but he's dead now. You know, he can't punch back. You know the saying about beating a dead horse. Once someone's dead, I mean, I'm not gonna punch back. You know what I mean? He's dead. He can call me whatever he wants. Let him rest. You know, let him rest.
I only met him 36 times. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, a real hero. He invented podcasts, and so did Jeffrey Epstein, I guess, by way of Brace Belden. Here's Jeffrey dressed up in the garb. Photo of the island temple that's very suspicious. There is a selection of Lolita-themed body drawings taken from the new Epstein release. She was...
What the fuck? Lolita is like the book that is the most prime example of someone is media illiterate. In the sense that you're not supposed to like the main character. So it's like everybody who likes Lolita is sus. It's like you're not supposed to like take quotes from it. It's supposed to be horrifying to see through the eyes of a pedophile. So anybody who says they like Lolita is probably a pedophile because they lack the intellect to actually understand the purpose of the book. So you like, I honest to God, like it's one of those situations. What's a good example of this? It's like Starship Troopers. Unless the person is a well-established leftist communicating to you that they understand that Starship Troopers is saying that that situation is bad and they like the satire, anybody who says they like Starship Troopers or Lolita, that's a pedophile and that's a fascist. Unless there's some other mitigating circumstances, like they're a fucking literary professor or an open leftist who has specifically mentioned how it's satire.
Dolores on the dotted line. What is that word? Dolores is the girl in Lolita. I did not read it. She was Polly at the school. She was low, plain low in the morning, standing 4'10" in one sock.
Like these are quotes of the like delusional fucking pedophile imagining that the abducted child was into him. But if you actually like read what's being said, she's just existing. Like, I'm sorry, if you find that hot, you're just a pedophile.
Dolly, D brother. You know what's crazy about this, for the record? We know Jeffrey Epstein was straight up illiterate and could not read or write. So the very fact
was very clear, pedos are bad. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm fucking saying.
Fact that the one book that he seemingly read and wrote quotes from on the body of someone was Lolita is enough to put him in prison. Okay, if you know a motherfucker who can't read or write, but seemingly they can't drop this copy of Lolita that is definitely well read. I mean, look at the damage on this. Yeah, you can't even spine check that bitch. That thing has been crumpled up multiple times. Probably some pages stuck together, if you know what I'm saying. This guy really read the out of that book. The one time he read a book was Lolita. Geez, was it a smut book? I wouldn't say it's like, I don't know. I don't know if the intention was for it to be a smut book. But if you are a pedophile, I think you can get that out of it. Seemingly as Jeffrey Epstein did. Yeah, it's supposed to be an indictment of pedophilia. My anti-pedophilia work is now being celebrated by pedophiles all around the world. The thing about Lolita is it's supposed to be a very scathing indictment of a pedo, and pedophiles take it and are like, oh my God, wait, this is so hot actually.
We just got 5 more pictures from the Epstein estate, courtesy of Democrats who are eager to keep the story in the headlines. The photos were provided without context. CNN's MJ Lee is here. MJ, can you tell us what these images show?
Yeah, Dana, first of all, I'm really glad that you said that these photographs have been released without any kind of context. We shouldn't be reading into them. What we can do is simply describe what we are seeing here. And certainly we can talk about the political context that is behind all of this as well. The photos as...
Oh, parapower mapping, absolute clock. Hey, I just noticed something. Oh my God. I mean, it could be.
Oh my God, Donald Trump. Somebody should ask Donald Trump if he has what was next to the Hitler speeches on his nightstand. Was it Lolita?
Total coincidence, but contextually very, very strange. Hassan, you're being very uncharitable. These clips are out of context. What if in all of these photos, the moment afterwards, they put their thumbs down and said boo? While they were writing this Lolita reference on the body of a woman, they were actually shaking their head in disagreement. And it doesn't actually show that. And that's why it's out of context. They were actually trying to, much like Lolita, make a statement about how pedophilia is bad and wrong.
And then we have two photos, one of philosopher Noam Chomsky on a plane with Epstein, and then Bill Gates posing for a photograph with a woman, but the woman's face has been redacted by the House Democrats. They've been doing this to, they say, to make sure that they are protecting the identities of potential Epstein victims. And I should just be careful to note that Gates has previously said that he regrets.
I like how they're not using any of the 4chan slang that QAnon acolytes believe the Epstein's trafficking ring used. Yeah, because they were making that up, because their conspiracies are just conspiracy theories and they're far-fetched and they're stupid. Apparently, the real international sex trafficking of minors ring that was taking place in the highest levels of American society was straight up like, hey, do you want to do on children? Here are the 18-year-olds classifications or whatever the they were doing. Like it's literally, they were just doing it in broad daylight. Okay. There is no like, you know, cheese pizza or hot dogs, no code words, only photos, literally photographing every part of this process. Okay. Total impunity. Who's going to get us? Who's going to say anything? That is, I think, one of the greatest ways of destroying the QAnon style conspiracy theories was the idea that these like societal elites would actually feel the necessity to do OPSEC, that they would actually try to simultaneously send these sorts of emails on the company email, which they apparently were, for the record, or at least they were using their personal email accounts, but like they would feel the necessity to like shelter others from what the they're doing, you know? Turns out they were just like, we love photographing our illicit acts. I'm a big fan of this. Please, let's take more photos. The reason why like people who are super pro-Israel, like Dana Fash, for example, have no issue covering this story or are not like invested in sheltering the public from the story at all because it's a high profile story is because one, it would invite way more suspicion if CNN somehow magically didn't cover the story. Everybody understands why Fox News refuses to cover it, right? But also the other reason is because
it looks like MSNBC and CNN, like all the anchors that they're covering the Epstein story, they look like they're in a hostage video. They look like they're so like I've seen CNN hosts giggling at the Gaza genocide, but covering the Epstein story, they look like they're about to cry.
In the normie sphere, if you haven't noticed, in the normie sphere, there is very little coverage of Jeffrey Epstein's dealings with Ehud Barak or with Israel in particular. So they give you everything, but not everything. Some of the connective tissue that would invite suspicion about Jeffrey Epstein's dealings with the state of Israel are oftentimes left out from mainstream coverage. If you notice, there has, for example, been very little coverage from mainstream resources, if at all, about the numerous dealings that Jeffrey Epstein had with the state of Israel. None whatsoever. Very suspicious. The Epstein story reveals the corruption of a broad swath of the U.S. elite while featuring a certain little nasty little Middle Eastern regime in a starring role. Pro-Israel insiders disliked the story and wanted to go away for the same reason. Yeah, extraordinary journalism that also ought to put to rest some of the nonsense around the Epstein story, but probably won't. The untold story of how Jeffrey Epstein got rich. And this story basically reveals that Jeffrey Epstein is like a small-time con man man who just seemingly leveled up all of his cons by being a real charmer until he got to like Les Wexner. Okay. That's how they presented it on the New York Times. It was like their big budget Jeffrey Epstein investigation. You know, it's unique, let's just say. And Julie K. Brown responded, said, hundreds of girls and young women were sexually assaulted by Epstein and other men to be men he associated with. I don't think that is nonsense. Huge story from New York Times investigation into Trump and Epstein. Don's best friend, how Epstein and Trump bonded over the pursuit of women. So they're on the one hand tying Jeffrey Epstein back to Donald Trump, but also on the other hand, I mean, they're doing a decent job with that, and so are the Democrats. But on the other hand, they just, I feel like they use Donald Trump as like a red herring. It is very strange that the only coverage around Jeffrey Epstein's connections directly to Israeli spies, yes, Israeli spy Yoni Koren, who stayed at Jeffrey Epstein's apartment, or Ehud Barak, or the numerous deals that he cut selling Israeli spyware to the countries all around the world. All that stuff is left out from mainstream discourse. And it is very interesting. Very interesting. So in some ways, it's like they make you feel like your curiosity is satisfied. And in other ways, I think they just leave some of this information out. For the record, in terms of her own personal connection to the story, worth noting, Jeremy Bash, former chief of staff of the CIA and the Department of Defense, and the ex-husband of CNN host Dana Bash, had dealings with a top Israeli spy who stayed for weeks at a time at Jeffrey Epstein's apartment in New York. They continued to coordinate privately together for years, just so you know. And to be fair to Dana, this was a relationship or a marriage that lasted from 1998 to 2007. So I believe this happened after they were married. She then married CNN co-host, co-anchor John King from 2008 to 2012. The whole, like, it's a big club and everyone is just like somehow involved in it is, you know, it's a part of that. But like I said, I am not saying that Dana Bash was knowledgeable on everything that was going on. I'm not implying that. I'm not saying that at all. Like I said, she was married to this person up until 2007. So many people accidentally hanging out with post-conviction Jeffrey Epstein, just slipping on banana peels and falling into his Manhattan apartment. Once again, a statement followed the New York Times because these photos came out of David Brooks, who had conveniently written an article about, you know, this Jeffrey Epstein stuff, count me out of it, not really interested in it, and you shouldn't either. He wrote that for the New York Times. So of course, when these photos came out, everyone was like, you're photographed at an event with the pedophile that you are telling people to stop paying attention to. That's kind of strange. And so their statement was, as a journalist, David Brooks regularly attends events to speak with noted and important business leaders.
As a journalist, David Brooks regularly attends events to speak with noted and important business leaders to inform his columns, which is exactly what happened at this 2011 event. Mr. Brooks had no contact with him before or after this single attendance at a widely attended dinner. I think maybe you shouldn't have had him write the Epstein files are so boring, who cares about that article.
His columns, which is exactly what happened at this 2011 event. Mr. Brooks had no contact with him before or after the single attendance at a widely attended dinner. This is the other thing that I wanted to talk about. This is the exhaustive proof that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were very close and cooperated extensively in their sexual pursuits. This is from the piece from the New York Times. Trump said, here's some choice quotes from it. Trump sent Epstein modeling cards to peruse like a menu. In an email among those released by Congress in November, Mr. Epstein boasted he gave Trump a 20-year-old woman whom Mr. Epstein dated in the 90s. During a flight together in the early 90s, Mr. Trump came on to another Epstein employee traveling with them, telling her that he could have anyone he wanted, according to a different Epstein worker who learned of the incident. A separate Epstein employee from that era recalled that Mr. Trump would occasionally send over modeling cards for Mr. Epstein to peruse, like a menu. She remembered one call in the mid-1990s on which the two men discussed how much pubic hair a particular woman had and whether there was enough for Mr. Epstein to floss his teeth with.
Oh, hell nah! Oh, hell nah! Trump told Epstein about having sex with another woman on a pool table, the former assistant said. I honest to God don't believe it. I kind of don't believe it. Like, having seen Donald Trump and the way that he interacts toward women, it's giving Nick Fuentes vibes. His only reason for talking about women is to impress men.
On another, Mr. Trump told Mr. Epstein about having sex with another woman on a pool table, the former assistant said. But this is the most damning part of this. During a trip to the bathroom, they ran into Mr. Trump's new wife. This is Trump's wife, the one that he like buried under the golf course, okay? The one that I believe also accused him of sexual assault. Trump's wife to the mother of a 14-year-old model said, "Do not let her near my husband." During a trip to the bathroom, they ran into Mr. Trump's wife, whom they had met earlier. Oh wait, no, this is Marla Maples. This is not the one that was. This is not Ivana, who is Ivanka's mother, was the one who accused him of sexual assault. This is wife number 2. I apologize for getting the wives wrong. During a trip to the bathroom, they ran into Mr. Trump's new wife, whom they had met earlier. Miss Maples clasped her hands, Miss Coleman recalled, and looked her in the eye. "Whatever you do, do not let her around any of these men, and especially my husband," she told Miss Coleman. "Protect her." This is the mother of the often forgotten ugly duckling Trump, Tiffany's mom. Donald Trump actually avoids mentioning Tiffany completely, as a matter of fact, despite the fact that Tiffany Trump actually had a blossoming career in music and was way ahead of the game with her ambitious music project that she put together alongside the rapper Logic, available on Amazon Prime Music.
All right, I'm back. We got a bowling video. Nice. So what else do we got here? Oh, okay. Survivors will be looking through everything. Epstein survivor speaks out on deadline day. What was the name of the daughter that Biden showered with? Was it I don't know, man. I don't know about that. Trump's ballroom is a lie. I think it's a Fuhrer bunker. That's what I think. Am I going to cover the DP USA drama? Probably. Oh my God. Do you want to show chat?
Chat. In the making. When
Theo and I own a snake and it just shed. It's a little hog nose.
a trove of files.
It's a mildly venomous snake native to the North American Southwest. And their name is Poe. Mike doesn't have snake guy vibes. It's VO's snake, you know. Other people say you look like a snake guy. Well, it's VO's snake. But I care for it as well. Mike vindicated the bubble is upon us. China has built a Manhattan Project to rival the West in AI chips. I mean, here's how I feel about AI. If it's real, the Chinese are going to win. If it's not real, it's a huge bubble. So, like, and the reason why I think the Chinese are going to win is because first of all, they're just building more energy and renewable energy and nuclear power plants and fusion research. So they're going to be ahead of the curve on generating power. And the second thing is they're just better at building infrastructure in general. So if AI and their AI models are open source, so they're going to have the best models. There is no way that the best AI model is going to be a closed source American capitalist. You know, that's not going to work. So if AI is real, the Chinese will win. If it's not, then it's a bubble and the US will get fucking imploded by it and China will be fine. So it's really like either neutral or positive. So I'm not hugely into, I guess I would say that I'm a mild AI skeptic and I find it largely distasteful and not that impressive. But maybe it'll get to the point where I'm like, oh, this is actually a threat.
Recounting Jeffrey Epstein's sexual abuse are expected to finally be made public. The FBI finding more than 1,000 women and girls each suffered a unique trauma at the late financier's hands. Women like Danielle Bensky, who was a 17-year-old aspiring ballerina when she was recruited by Jeffrey Epstein in 2004. That was around the time her mother was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And she says Epstein threatened to wield his influence to get top neurosurgeons to withhold care, entrapping her in what she has called a cycle of abuse. And Danielle Bensky is with us now. Danielle, thank you so much for coming here and so bravely speaking out and sharing your story and what you've been going through. What is the feeling inside you right now, knowing this day is here, something I know you've been calling for, this transparency for so long?
Yeah, thank you for having me first. It definitely, there's a weight of anticipation, and that comes with a lot of tension. It comes with a lot of anxiety. It comes with, we've been waiting for this day and we've prepared options A through Z in our mind. And really the only thing I can equate it to is like giving birth because you just never know. The go bag is packed and it's like, is it time? Is it time? And it feels like it is time, but we don't know what we'll see. I just read Todd Blanche's statement saying that we're going to see more in the coming weeks. And that makes me really nervous. Wow. And well, because we were really prepared. We had hoped that we would see everything today. And we didn't think that that was realistic. And again, like I speak for myself, survivors are not a monolith, right? We all have our different backstories and opinions and views, right? So, but for me, I was not the most hopeful that we would get everything.
Okay, yes, some people, some Epstein victims are gonna be conservatives. Like it's just, and they're gonna be part of that conservative mind virus where they delude themselves into thinking Trump is the answer. This is something that is rough to hear, but it is very important that you understand how true it is in life. Just because someone was victimized does not mean that they learned good lessons from that victimization. Sometimes hurt people hurt people. Sometimes victims are affected in ways that can render other areas of their life damaging. All right, you need to not put halos on the heads of people that are victimized. And there's a corollary to that. Just because somebody is not perfect doesn't mean they're not a victim. Just because someone has made mistakes or done bad things in the past doesn't mean they deserve to be victimized. All of those are kind of related ideas. And so you need to purge yourself of all of them and start treating people as nuanced, complicated, and have a lot of more depth. We all have this urge to kind of flatten people into these like very simple boxes. And that's fundamentally reactionary thinking. That's one of the reasons why woke scolds or rad libs are so annoying and so harmful to the left. Because like, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Veterans. In America, being a veteran is one of the few avenues of social mobility that poor people have. If you have parents that are upper middle class or middle class, they can help you get into college. They can help you pay for college. They can help you get a down payment on a home or buy a car, or they have social connections to help get you an interview. So it's easy for you to look down on a poor person who became a veteran and go, oh my God, I can't believe you supported the empire. Where, your upper middle class privileged life gave you the opportunity to avoid having to use those type of things because your own personal network was so strong through no fault of your own, but rather random luck. So I think just hating all veterans is a side of class privilege. Many of the people that are out there, speaking most strongly against veterans being part of the left, as long as they leave their advocacy for imperialism behind and become anti-imperialists. The reason why that's so wrong is because veteran status in America is one of the only paths of social mobility. And a lot of American inner city public schools push promising students into the military. Let me tell you a story. I was organizing for a political campaign, and I went to a school in an urban area, a high school in an urban area in Pennsylvania, to talk to their like AP government class. So typical inner city school, built in the 30s, asbestos on the walls, run down. And so I go to meet the guidance counselor because I was going to have a conversation with the AP government class. And on the guidance counselor's wall, they had awards from every military branch for aiding recruitment. Inside the guidance counselor's office, there were cutouts of soldiers and sailors, like cardboard cutouts. I have gone to, and that's true of almost every inner city school, and it wasn't Reading High. That's the thing that's funny. It wasn't Reading. I think it was Allen, if you know that part of Pennsylvania. But if you go to an upper class suburban school, you're going to see awards about how they've gotten students into Brown, into Penn, into Yale, into Princeton, etc. So that is why, you have to look past simple boxes, because in America, veteran status gets you access to social mobility. America is a social democracy if you're a veteran. And so a lot of people make that decision in order to give themselves an opportunity to borrow money to own a home or go to college. I know a lot of people scoff at that and they go like, aha, you just want your imperialist treats. You were willing to sacrifice. But many people don't know about America, the nature of America's imperialism. It's fucking ridiculous to expect an impoverished teenager from an American inner city to have a full-blown understanding of America's empire and how the military is abused to defend it. It is fucking ridiculous to try, and that's why I think this kind of mentality needs to be stamped out. It is a mentality of upper middle class white people who had privileged lives. My brother joined because it was a job for someone with no real prospects and he wanted an education like most people would join. Of course. It doesn't mean that that it suddenly is the empire is a good thing. It just means that when we're talking about individuals who are disillusioned with the status quo, bringing in veterans is a sign of a healthy movement. If people could go through the propaganda and brainwashing of the military and come out anti-imperialist, we should be welcoming them with open arms while also recognizing that we need to reparate to the countries that were victimized by us. But that is the mission of winning power. And we need to fight all future imperialist projects, like, for example, a war in Venezuela. If you support the war in Venezuela, you are scum.
But there was a piece of me that wanted that part to be wrong. And the fact that we still haven't seen anything feels a little nerve-wracking.
Well, yeah, we don't know what's going to be released. You're right, though, that they did indicate they plan to release something, but not everything today on this deadline day. So will you look at the files when they come out?
Definitely. I think all survivors are looking for their specific information, which is difficult. You know, we haven't seen our 302s, which are we've requested, many of us, not all of us, but many of us have requested our FBI files on ourselves, and we've never gotten them. And so, like, my request was made a couple months ago. There are some survivors that have been requesting for 5 years.
Why haven't you gotten your own 302?
And we don't really know. We're not really sure. So we have heard back saying they're in process or it's tied up in other active in litigation. So nobody has a direct answer for it, but without that roadmap, it's really challenging. So I do think that survivors definitely will be looking through everything and combing the files and trying to find what we know to be true. They've said that there are many pictures and videos, and we'll try to find what we're looking for.
Are you nervous?
Yeah, it's never easy. I mean, we're constantly reliving the darkest parts of our lives. It's amazing to have the support of others and know, like, I think that's what's so special about this particular bond of women, is that when
What if you're from the Middle East and have emotional trouble forgiving soldiers? That's totally fine. What the fuck? Of course, I would never say to a victim of American imperialism that you need to like the American military. I'm talking about Americans trying to hold themselves over other Americans as morally superior. That's fucking weird. As long as that American is fighting against American imperialism. Most Americans are completely apathetic about American imperialism. I'm not going to turn away anybody. I'm not going to turn away. How do I convince a stubborn high school teen not to go into the Air Force and military? Sometimes it's best when you're having conversations with people to not try to directly attack their innermost identity. And oftentimes appeals to fear will backfire. If you want people to go off of a different course, you have to make that new course more attractive. That's my experience in life. If you go after someone's core identity, you'll just get a rebound. You'll just get a double down. Somebody leftists preach about being immune to propaganda. The same breath say that every veteran is a murderous baby killer. I'm a vet. I mean, that's just, nobody says that. That's just some unhinged, edgy internet shit. You have to redirect. Toddler parenting strat. It's not a toddler parenting strat. It's a human being in a persuasion strat. Like,
really dark moment, the other one can step in and say, are you okay? Do you need a break? Let's just take a moment, take a beat, take a breath. And then we can come back to it and really allow ourselves to experience it. But yeah, it re-traumatizes, but we know that it's important so that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, and you've talked about how you were able to escape Jeffrey Epstein following a surgery your mother had for her brain cancer. What kind of impact has that entire period that you went through had on the remaining following decades?
Oh, huge. I mean, for me, I had to find my way back to dance. You know, dance was I was a ballerina growing up, and that was my only aspiration, really. And I couldn't look at myself after that for quite some time. I couldn't go into a studio and look at my body move, let alone in a leotard and tights. And so I left and I went to an acting program for a while. And through the acting program, I found choreography, and that felt like I could express myself. And I stand by that. That form of expression really changed my life, because I was able to compile the emotional part and the disassociative part and live in this world of like creativity, you know. So that saved me, and I've been able to have that, which I think stabilizes me quite a bit. And I work with young dancers, and that is where I think a lot of this coming forward now has been derived from, because I see these young girls and I want to make sure that they're not being groomed into anything either, you know. So I'm a big proponent for making sure that we're not grooming girls in the dance world.
I mean, if you could talk to yourself back then,
Yeah.
you were 17 years old. You're so young. You're vulnerable. You're already, I remember being a 17-year-old girl myself and like wanting to be accepted. What would you tell yourself?
I mean, that's this fight, right? That is, I think I would love to say that it changes and that it gets better and that you'll never be in this situation again, or that you would know that you have the support of so many other women that you would be able to call it out. I think for me now, I think about my students, and I think about if they were in a position that I was in, would they be able to go to a friend and say, hey, this is a weird thing. I don't like, this feels wrong. Does this feel wrong to you? And then have a dialogue and bring that to an adult and say, like, this is not okay, right? And I think that this generation is strong enough to do that. So I think we're already moving mountains there.
Yeah. When this happens, when we see the documents, when all the files are out there, assuming that the DOJ complies with the law, where do you go from here? Is this an opportunity for closure? Is there ever closure?
Yeah, I think it's that then provides the roadmap. Right now, we're in the dark quite a bit still, right? The Transparency Act is really just to find like the road forward. You know, for me, it starts at an institutional level. I think there's so much institutional trauma that all of us have endured as well. It hasn't just been manipulation at the hands of Jeffrey and Klein. It has also been the systems that failed us through time and time again. And so I believe, like, you know, names of people that have scholarships in their names, or their, you know, monuments or statues, like anybody that did any wrong really should not have any sort of praise, right? So I think it really, we're going to start to see the chips fall, and I think that that's what real systematic change will look like.
I keep thinking how brave you are to be here, and you're so composed. You have this beautiful sweater on with a beautiful message, courage is contagious. Why was that important for you to bring that message here?
Yeah, courage is contagious to me. It represents the mosaic that we are. Together, we're just these, you know, or independently, we're just these little shards of glass that we kind of feel very broken in, but together we do create this amazing picture, and I think, you know, it really does illuminate the path forward for our next generation.
Danielle Bensky, you are a light.
Thank you
so much.
Thanks so much
for joining us today, and I hope you find that peace in all of this.
So it is officially being released that the DOJ won't meet the Friday deadline to release the Epstein files. I graduated in 2002 from a military family. They pressured me to join the Air Force. I was lower middle class in one of the worst school districts in the middle of nowhere, and I didn't qualify for need-based aid. I still refused to join Army because I stumbled upon Chomsky, ironically enough. Interesting. Trump's Epstein files delay isn't a legal crisis. It's a political one. As the deadline for releasing the Epstein files has arrived, the Trump administration has effectively signaled what many observers already suspected: the records are not all coming out at once. Instead, officials say the documents will be released on a rolling basis. They should be suing immediately. Sue immediately. Sue the Trump administration for a writ of mandamus. Release the files. That's what the law says. It's plain as day. Start arresting Trump fucking officials for not doing their duties and put them in prison until it gets out. You sue Trump's officials. You say you are directed by the law to release the files. Today's the day. Release the files now. If they say no, you get a contempt of court order and you put them in prison, and you keep arresting official after official, and you put them in jail, and you keep them in jail until somebody pushes the fucking button. Who is standing to sue in this case? All of us. Who gives a fuck? I'm sure there's a standing thing in the law. You should read the New York Times article. It's fucking dark. Oh, God. Which article? Oh, my God. This is also ridiculous. They have renamed the Kennedy Center, excuse me. They have renamed the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. to the Trump Kennedy Center. President Trump's name was already being added to the Performing Arts Center in Washington, D.C. early Friday, just a day after its board moved to rename it the Trump Kennedy Center. The John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts was built as a living memorial to the 35th president and has been generally understood that the power to change its name lies with Congress, which has not acted. What can you even say? What can you even say? I mean, it is, he's, as I said before, he's like a pharaoh. It's like, does anybody think that this is going to enshrine love for Donald Trump? Does anybody think this profound disrespect? He didn't even build it. I mean, it'd be one thing if you built something new, you fucking loser. But to slap your name on something that already existed, you fucking worm, you loser fuck, you contemptible little freak. Nobody gives a shit about your fucking name being thrown on a center that existed for 35 years before you got here. It's like going to an art museum and scrawling your signature on a painting that's already up from some other master. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And this is going to be ripped off. As easily as this name could be scrawled on the center, it's just as easily can it be ripped down. And I would never, ever say that somebody should go down to Washington, D.C. and rip this, you know, with a grinder and rip this off the wall. I wouldn't say that because that would be against the law and that would be against TOS. So I would never suggest that someone should do that immediately because that would be wrong and against the law. Do not break the law. I disavow breaking the law. President Trump's name was already being added. I mean, it's just...
She just posted on X, your press secretary, that the board members of the Kennedy Center voted unanimously to rename it the Trump Kennedy Center. What is your reaction to that?
Well, I was honored by it. The board is a very distinguished board, most distinguished people in the country. And I was surprised by it. I was honored by it.
God, look at this suit. Look at this suit. Look at the shoulder pads on this suit. I mean, it's just, we're all in favor of a shoulder pad here or there between friends. But look at this angle. I mean, look at this angle. His arm is going here. So his real shoulders are like this. Okay, hold on. Let's be a little fair. Okay, so they're coming up. So maybe they're like that. But on this side, it's like that. No, I think I was too fair. So it's like that, maybe. Because on this one, it's definitely like that. So his shoulders are like probably roughly around there. Wait, hold on. Roughly around there. He's tiny. I'm sorry, I got distracted. I got distracted by the shoulder pads. It's just so extreme. Donald Trump Jr. is the chair of the Kennedy Center board. They made Donald Trump Jr. chair. Never before has... So wait a minute. He made himself chair and then he voted to name it after himself? And they renamed it already on the website, the Trump Kennedy Center. It's still Kennedy Center /org. The Kennedy Center honors. I guess they haven't updated all the stuff yet. A living memorial to JFK. I mean, like, legitimately, Donald Trump, you are such a pathetic fucking worm and an embarrassment. You are a worm and an embarrassment. Wait, what time do they get released? They're supposed to be getting released right now. But Trump is like slow playing it because people feel like he's in a lot of the files. They're saying they need to, they're refusing to release it even though there's a federal law that Trump signed that all needs to be released today. Worms do more for the world than us. I know, Bobcat, you're so right. Really, only a human being could be this pathetic. It really is pathetic. It really is pathetic. That's the only reaction I have to it. The Justice Department will not meet the Friday deadline to release all the Epstein files. This is just blatantly illegal. And as I said before, what you do is you sue for what's called a writ of mandamus. That is an order by a court to force a government official to do their job or else go to prison. A writ of Mandamus is an order from a court to an inferior government official ordering the government official to properly fulfill their official duties or correct an abuse of discretion. Mandamus is a extraordinary remedy which should only be used in exceptional circumstances of particular emergency or public importance. I cannot think of a better example of when this should be used than right now. Who would have forced the court order? The United States Marshals! Mike still believes laws matter or work. No, I don't. First of all, not surprised guy. I taught you about legal realism, you son of a bitch! It's so funny when people are like, Mike believes this. I taught you the thing that you currently believe. Shut up. It's like, Mike, have you ever heard of legal realism? It explains that all politicians are really just, all judges are just politicians in robes. And it isn't legal theories or jurisprudence or statutory construction that rules, but rather felt necessities of the time, the prevalent moral and political theories, institutions of public policy, avowed or unconscious intuitions, rather, and even the prejudices which judges share with their fellow men. That's what really does it, chat. Oh, well, you don't fucking say. But the point I'm trying to make is, I want these institutions. Here's what you guys don't understand, is that I have a plan, and I'm executing that plan, and it's starting to work. It's starting to work because in mainstream publications, they're starting to say what I've been saying for 7 years on this stream. It's time to accept that the U.S. Supreme Court is illegitimate and must be replaced. This is what I've been saying for 7 fucking years. But now people are getting on our level. We need to remake the U.S. High Court so that Americans don't suffer future decades of oligarchy facilitating rule. The justices of the Supreme Court, even its own conservatives, have traditionally valued their institution's own standing. John Roberts, the current U.S. Chief Justice, has always been praised, even by liberals, as a staunch advocate of the court's image as a neutral arbiter. For decades, Americans believed the court soared above the fray of partisan contestation. No more. In Donald Trump's second term, the Supreme Court's conservative supermajority has seized the opportunity to empower the nation's chief executive. In response, public approval of the court has collapsed. The question is what it means for liberals to catch up to this new reality of a court that willingly tanks its own legitimacy, eager to realize cherished goals of assigning power to the president and arrogating as much for itself. Conservative justices seemingly no longer care what the public or the legal community think of the court's actions. Too often, though, liberals are responding with nostalgia for a court that cares about its high standing. There is a much better option: to grasp the opportunity to set right the Supreme Court's role in U.S. democracy. And these are Harvard and Yale law professors that are now agreeing to Mike from PA's radicalism. And I've been calling for this for years, and it is spreading. Some liberals worry that concluding the Supreme Court is beyond redemption is too close to nihilism about the Constitution or even about the law itself. In the aftermath of Trump's reelection, Professor Kate Shaw remarked, "I don't think abandoning the Constitution in the course of abandoning institutions is the right way forward, or is it something that we can survive?" Vladak cautioned similarly against doomerism, warning the rule of law in the United States might struggle to survive the emergence of any kind of popular consensus that law increasingly doesn't matter. It's not so much that it's a popular consensus, it's the lived reality, you fucking liberal worm. Such qualms suggest... Oh, Theo has given me eggs. Thank you for the egg. Mike, don't you realize that it's illegal? You can't do it if it's illegal? Such qualms suggest some can't imagine an alternative to a legitimate Supreme Court, even once the institution itself has abandoned that role. Much like in the early 20th century, Americans today are responding to a series of institutional failures with an extended period of constitutional rethinking, tracing many of those failures to the undemocratic features of our written Constitution. The Electoral College and the Senate, most notably, reformers are proposing to create solutions or workarounds that might move us in the direction of an actual democracy. Mike from PA vindication year. Progressives are increasingly converging on the idea of both expanding and disempowering federal courts, attentive to the reality that the Supreme Court especially is not and rarely has been their friend. Left-leaning advocates are finding ways to empower ordinary people, trading the hollow hope of judicial power for the promise of popular rule. The label as nihilist, though sketching an alternative, more democratic future. In other words, not only is mistaken, but outright bizarre. Rather than adhere to the same institutionalist strategies that helped our current crisis, reformers must insist on remaking institutions like the U.S. Supreme Court so that Americans don't have to suffer future decades of oligarchy facilitating rule that makes a parody of the democracy they were promised. In Trump's second term, the Republican-appointed majority on the Supreme Court has brought their institution to the brink of illegitimacy. Far from pulling it back from the edge, our goal has to be to push it off. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why we are here. It is Mike from PA Vindication Hours. And if you're like, oh, Mike, I'm new here. When did you ever say expand the Supreme Court? Let's just search Supreme Court in my tweets. Let's see what happens. The bare minimum of every Democratic Senate candidate: support overturning the filibuster, admit DC as a state, expand the Supreme Court. Anything short of this is useless. Supreme Court expansion. Okay, I probably need to look through this. But back on January 21st of 2021, I don't know why this search is so bad in Twitter. Jesus fucking Christ, it's putting random shit. Open President, thank you for the 25. The bare minimum for any Democrat Senate candidate: support overturning the filibuster, will admit DC as a state. Let me see here. Why is this search so bad? It's so funny seeing liberal pundits flail over this immunity decision at the Supreme Court. It's been clear that the SCOTUS is a political agent of the Republican Party for a decade now, yet Biden refuses to even endorse court reform or packing. Pathetic loser party. This is before the elections. And I think that this, ladies and gentlemen, is an example exactly what I've been talking about. These movements, these arguments that I've been making that were once far outside of the mainstream are now being brought home. Hey, Mike, is this anything? Oracle's credit default swaps hit 153. America's second richest man faces potential default without a taxpayer-backed government bailout. I would bet on the bailout. I think Oracle is just a CIA cutout. So I would say that if Donald Trump and the Republicans control everything when it pops, they will bail it out. Now, if the Democrats control the House, they'll bail it out because they're also, compromised by CIA agents. So, I don't know. I have a hard time believing they'll let Oracle, which is a CIA cutout, go belly up. I'm pretty sure the Ellisons are just like the shadow government. And I hate to use those terms because they sound conspiratorial. Events have made it a necessity. All right, let's get back to the Trump coverage. I don't want to get too distracted for too long.
Gloria Allred, she's representing more than 24 Epstein abuse survivors. Gloria, good to have you here with us. This has been a long time coming. What does today mean for your clients?
Yes, thank you for inviting me, Anna. I think it's a very important day for so many of them. They know their own truth. What they don't know is the big picture. In fact, third parties, for example, other rich, powerful, famous men who may have enabled, assisted, conspired with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell to be able to sex traffic underage girls and in some cases adult women as well. In other words, this was not a one-off, even though one-off would have been very bad. This was a whole plan and a scheme. It was assisted by many banks who made loans to Jeffrey Epstein. Did they have knowledge of what they were doing? Did they not? Why didn't they? And what about these other men? Was Jeffrey Epstein using some of these women as bait or as in a transactional way that, in other words, if these men did business with Jeffrey Epstein, that they would get a woman in return? Or
is that from an article? Can you link me directly to the article, Nexus, so we could read that?
A girl. In other words, these women were kind of pawns on a chessboard. They were used and abused. And we want to know if there's anyone else who should have been prosecuted. If they weren't, why not? And was there sufficient evidence in the Department of Justice files such that they should have been prosecuted. And who were some of these other men? We know the names of some of them. We've seen the photos of some of them, but we don't know if there's any evidence that they committed a crime. Maybe they were just there to do business with Jeffrey Epstein or receive donations.
Chat, we are 3 hours into the stream. If you enjoy this content, please consider supporting us by subscribing at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you can attach that to your Twitch account. You get 1 free sub a month. That's your Twitch Prime sub. This is the Central Committee stream with your host, Mike from Pennsylvania. We talk about politics here every day starting at 7 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. So make sure you hit that follow button. We do so from a left-wing perspective. So I would really appreciate your support. Thank you guys, Green Bass Guy. Thank you everybody for supporting the stream. We have right now a hype train. The top sub gifter and the top bit donor in a hype train get the conductor badge, which is a golden locomotive next to your name, and then you get a purple locomotive next to your name after the next hype train. Choo choo, motherfucker. So thank you so much for supporting the stream. If you want access, if you participated in the hype trade by subbing, resubbing, using a Prime sub, gifting at least 1 sub, or giving bits, 200 minimum, you will be given access to a hype chest. Wow. The thing to know about hype trains, chat, is they boost the stream in the algorithm and in the sidebar. So the longer this hype train goes on, the more people will be exposed and boosted to watch my stream. Not only are you supporting me, when you give subs to the community, you're helping a lot of people that work paycheck to paycheck, parents of young children, college students, people on a fixed income because of retirement or who are disabled, or just regular people struggling to make ends meet. They get access to Twitch Rewind, my VODs, having emotes site-wide. It's a really nice thing to do for people. They deserve to be educated. They don't deserve to see ads. They deserve to be able to watch the stream at their leisure. Thank you for supporting the stream. You guys are the best. Let me thank some of the gifters and we'll move on. Clear Games, thank you for the 20 tier 1s. Roms, thank you for the tier 2. Hammond Fist, thank you for the 20. Open Presents, thank you for the 25. Appreciate everybody. Don't forget, you could also give bits. It looks like we've got new emotes. Unlike now, we're getting Honk Shoe. Honk Shoe. If you participate in this hype trade, you will get Honk Shoe, which it looks like is a sleeping emote. All right, everybody, let's get back to it.
For example, some academics from Jeffrey Epstein. We have a lot of questions.
We're gonna cover that stuff.
We don't have enough answers. Maybe the files will assist in learning those answers.
I think a lot of us are bracing for some really, really disturbing stuff. Is there any trepidation with those survivors you represent that this is going to mean reliving the trauma?
Well, I think some of the trepidation is, even though we have requested that many names of our clients be redacted, in other words, erased, removed, when the files are released, we really hope and pray that there will not be mistakes and that some of the victims' names will not be revealed. This is extremely important. They are very worried. Many of them, in fact, most of them have not spoken out, and they want to retain their privacy. And that's up to them. They don't have to be survivors whose names have been revealed, whose faces have been revealed. I honor whatever it is that they want, and they want privacy. So that's important. And so it'll be, there are some exceptions in terms of releasing the files. For example, the Department of Justice may say, well, certain men or certain people are under investigation, so they can't release the names of the accused possible perpetrators. But we don't know. We don't know. Apparently, the Department of Justice is saying some files may not be released today. The survivors want all of them, and they don't want excuses.
Let me play what we heard from Deputy AG Todd Blanche this morning related to that deadline tonight and really what we can expect.
Yes.
I expect that we're going to release more documents over the next couple of weeks. So today, several 100,000. And then over the next couple of weeks, I expect several 100,000 more.
Gloria, are you prepared to challenge the administration if you think that they're still withholding information? And how will you determine that they have released everything?
Well, and that's a good question. But, you know, they're not home free if they don't release all of the information. For one thing, for example, there's a lot of information from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. Some of it has not made its way into the DOJ files. Even the Deputy Attorney General, Mr. Blanche, has admitted that some time ago after he was questioned as why he didn't ask certain information when he was interviewing Ms. Maxwell, indicated that he didn't have all the files from the estate. Well, why didn't he? Do they have all the files now? Obviously, some of the photos, Anna, that were released yesterday by some of the minority members of the committee were from the estate. Does the Department of Justice even have them? I mean, I would think it would have been logical a long time ago,
right,
to subpoena.
It's almost like they don't want to investigate. I wonder what's going on. I wonder what's fucking going on.
The estate and recover whatever they had. They didn't do that. Why not? Is there something in the estate files that the DOJ or certain people involved with the DOJ don't want to see, don't want to consider? You know, again, you know, there's a mystery surrounding all that, and it will definitely help the survivors. The more that comes out, the better. And of course, we're going to need trusted narrators to put together all these hundreds of thousands of pages in the files to make sense of it and to understand who, if anyone else, should be prosecuted.
Gloria Allred, all good points. Thank you very much for being with us.
Reason Magazine chat, the libertarians with their have a employee. Why does this guy have a job? Venezuelan journalist Reason. He says the idea that the United States has interest in Venezuelan oil seems to outrage Americans far more than Venezuelans. And my response to that is traitors are offensive even if they are betraying some other person. This is how you could tell if somebody is sociopathic, by the way. This is a pro tip. How do they react to seeing somebody else be betrayed? A sociopath will not react because it's not involving their interests. Whereas everybody who's normal will be disgusted by that. And they will consider that person to be a scumbag because they will understand that being a traitor, betraying the trust of people around you is bad, even if somebody else is being betrayed. Does it count if it's a betrayal of your enemies, though? If somebody betrays their country or their people or their family for my benefit, I would still not trust that person. In fact, they would forever in my mind be considered a traitor. Now, I would reward them because they did help you. So you should be grateful to the people that help you. But it's still distasteful. And they are not a leader. They are somebody who if it is for a good cause, they betray faith for your good cause. You still don't put them in a position of trust. It's just reality. Let's keep going. The article in the New York Times, did they record
Don's best friend, how Epstein and Trump bonded over the pursuit of women.
Don's best friend, how Epstein and Trump bonded over the pursuit of women. This may be the most vile headline I've ever read in my entire life. It's up there. The president has tried to minimize their friendship, but documents and interviews reveal an intense and complicated relationship. Chasing women was an game of ego and dominance. Female bodies were currency. Like reading about Kick. Jeffrey Epstein was a terrible guy and a lot of fun to be with. He and Donald J. Trump also had no formal relationship. They went to a lot of the same parties, but they did not socialize together. They were never really friends, just business acquaintances, or there was no relationship at all. I was not a fan of his, that I can tell you. For nearly a quarter century, Mr. Trump and his representatives have offered shifting, often contradictory accounts of his relationship with Mr. Epstein. Once sporadically captured by society photographers and in news clips before they fell out sometimes in the mid-2000s. Closely scrutinized since Mr. Epstein died in a Manhattan jail cell during Mr. Trump's first term, their friendship and questions about what the president knew of Mr. Epstein's abuses now threatens to consume his second one. The controversy has shaken Mr. Trump's iron hold on his base like no other. Loyal supporters have demanded to know why the administration has not moved more quickly to unearth the convicted sex offenders' remaining secrets. Because Donald Trump is all over them! in November after resisting months of pressure to release more Epstein-related documents held by the federal government and facing an almost unheard of revolt among Republican lawmakers. Mr. Trump reversed himself, signing legislation that requires their release beginning this week. Well, guess what, chat? They're violating the law. Mike, I may get yelled at, but I think the Epstein files are a distraction from the incoming thousands of deaths due to new healthcare disenfranchisement, Gaza takeover, Venezuelan war possibility. But the media loves the Epstein files due to the personal nature of the crime. The public will do nothing about the E-files relation. Okay. You have now absorbed. This is one of the problems with being a leftist. This is one of the problems of being a leftist is you start analyzing the world through a dialectical materialist lens. You start understanding realpolitik. You start understanding the interplay between international institutions and capital. And you start doing this kind of mechanistic analysis of humanity as a whole. You start losing sight the opposing classes and interests. You know what opposes patriarchy? The social movement of feminism, which stands millions strong. Billions strong. You know what opposes the power of capital? That is the organized labor movement, the socialist movement. You know what opposes the power of the status quo? It is the radical reformers of which you are a small part. The Epstein files are not a distraction from the Venezuela war. The Venezuela war is a distraction from the Epstein files. Why do I say that? I say that because this will viscerally turn people against a powerful cabal of people who will be rejected for their inhuman crimes. And yes, it is salacious. Yes, the justification for the Venezuela war is to fight against a global South country seizing control of their own resources for their benefit of their own country. I understand that. I agree with you. But that's par for the course of American foreign policy. It has been for 80 years. I don't think one more war against the global South is going to be the thing that wakes Americans up. If anything, the Epstein files and then the Venezuela war, we could use the Epstein files to help oppose the Venezuela war. You need to start thinking about reality at a little bit greater depth. This is a way of taking people that are normies and they're focused on their own survival and that of their families and drawing their attention to the corruption and rot at the head of American empire. And we can cast doubt on the motives for the war in Venezuela. What is causing this war in Venezuela? It's coming from nowhere. Venezuela didn't do anything different. It's being done to wag the dog, to distract you from the fact that Trump is a pedophile, that Bill Clinton is a pedophile, that Hillary Clinton is a pedophile. They're doing this to distract you from the cabal of Israeli spies that have blackmail over our country. That's why we're supporting Israel's genocide, even though every American can recognize it as wrong. Okay, maybe Hillary Clinton isn't a pedophile. Maybe I got a little bit ahead of myself, but you get my point. There is an elite class of insiders, and they are trafficking young girls. That's not a I mean, that story needs to be dealt with. Hillary is an enabler at the very least. Mr. Epstein had a talent for acquiring powerful friends. Oh, a talent, chat. He was just so gregarious, such a laugh riot. He was just so magnetic, I guess, in his personality. Some of whom have been ensnared in the continuing scrutiny of his crimes. For months, Mr. Trump has labored furiously to shift himself out of the frame, dismissing questions about his relationship with Mr. Epstein as a Democrat hoax and imploring his supporters to ignore the matter entirely. An examination of their history by the New York Times has found no evidence implicating Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein's abuse and trafficking of minors. No evidence yet. But it was very clear that the relationship was sexually charged. And if Epstein was abusing a lot of young girls and the relationship between Trump and Epstein was sexually charged, I think that it's a little bit conclusory to say there's no evidence. We haven't looked very hard. There's a lot of people who have an interest in covering it up. I genuinely have to wonder, though, if it isn't entirely obvious to people at this point. Is anything going to change anyone's mind? I really don't think the real picture of Trump fucking a child would change anything at this point. I want you to ponder this image for a second. Another problem that occurs in the chat is the idea that the world is fixed. The world is shifting rapidly in our direction. If you can't see it, then your glasses are cloudy. Go get yourself a microfiber cloth and we'll clean them up. Are you okay? I think you expect the world to shift as fast as your infinite scroll algorithm on the phone box. The world is shifting rapidly between our feet or underneath our feet. What's that? Why do you need a finger trainer? I haven't heard it. Chat, Vio found I guess a grip trainer she brought. Is there like other ones? And do you have them all? Forearms. This is for forearms. Show me all of them. I have never seen one that looks like that. I don't know. Vio got it. She didn't ask me. Okay. Sorry. What was I saying? I need you to be there's a few people that you need to not be. I'm going to tell you, chat. I'm not surprised. Oh, you just heard about that? And nothing ever changes. If you are one of those guys, stop being those guys immediately. The I'm not surprised guy is annoying. The, oh, you didn't know that is annoying. And the nothing ever changes guy is wrong. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Every single one of those comments should never be uttered. They have no value. No one cares. And I'm only telling you this because I want to like you. I want to like you, chatter. But if I hear you say shit like that, I do not like you. And I think you're kind of dumb. So I'm helping you be a better chatter. All right, let's keep going. The two men's relationship were both far closer. What is this? Heavy, heavy, heavy. That's my jerk arm, yeah. That's my jerk arm. That's why it's stronger. MAGA is done. The battle for the left is not going to be grabbing a sizable plate at the table of the aftermath. Things will be up for grabs across the political spectrum in a way we have really not seen in our lives. That's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying. Beginning in the late 1980s, the two men forged a bond intense enough to leave others who knew them with the impression that they will be each other's closest friend. Can I say one more thing about being a not surprised guy or you didn't know that? You make people feel bad about themselves / you shut down conversations when you say shit like that. It is garbage. When somebody starts excitedly talking to you about politics with a left-wing perspective, you should be yes-anding them, not trying to demonstrate how smart you are. Anyway, let's keep going. Mr. Epstein was a little-known financier who cultivated mystery around the scope and source of his self-made wealth. Mr. Trump, 6 years older, was a real estate scion who relished publicity and exaggerated his successes. Neither man drank or did drugs. They pursued women in a game of ego and dominance. Female bodies were currency. Over nearly 2 decades, Trump caught sway through the party circuits of New York and Florida. Mr. Epstein was perhaps his most reliable wingman. Epstein's a wingman. During the 90s and early 2000s, they prowled Mr. Epstein's Manhattan mansion and Mr. Trump's Plaza Hotel, at least one of Mr. Trump's Atlantic City casinos, and both their Palm Beach homes. They visited each other's offices and spoke often by phone, according to other former Epstein employees and women who spent time in his homes. With other men, Epstein might discuss tax shelters, international affairs, or neuroscience. With Mr. Trump, he talked about sex. How the fuck? Trump supporters. Oh my God, dude. I mean, it's just, what can you even say? I just think it was trophy hunting. Stacey Williams, who rose to fame as a star of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issues during the 90s, said in an interview with the Times. In the social media posts and interviews with news outlets in recent years, Ms. Williams has described Mr. Trump groped her in 1993 at a Trump Tower while Mr. Epstein, whom she was then dating, watched. I think Jeffrey liked that he had this Sports Illustrated model who had this name and that Trump was pursuing me, she said. Mr. Trump has denied her account. The groper in chief. To shed light on their friendship, the Times interviewed more than 30 former Epstein employees, victims of his abuse, and others who crossed paths with the two men over the years. The Times obtained new also cucking each other. The Times also obtained new documents that illuminate their relationship and scoured court documents and other public records. 30 Epstein employees and victims. Many of the people interviewed by the Times asked to share their stories anonymously, saying they feared for their safety at the hands of supporters of Mr. Trump, a president who has deployed the might of the federal government to target and punish his political opponents. Some Epstein victims have already received death threats for demanding a full accounting of the government's investigations, according to a statement released by more than 24 of them last month.
Over the years, Mr. Epstein and his partner Ghislaine Maxwell introduced at least 6 women who have accused them of grooming or abuse to Mr. Trump. According to interviews, court testimony, and other records, one was a minor at the time. None have accused Mr. Trump of himself of inappropriate behavior. One of the women, who has never been spoken publicly about the experience, told the Times that Mr. Epstein has coerced her into attending 4 parties at Mr. Epstein's home. Mr. Trump attended all 4, the women said. At 2 of them, she said, Mr. Epstein directed her to have sex with other male guests. In an email among those released by Congress in November, Mr. Epstein boasted that he gave Mr. Trump a 20-year-old woman whom Mr. Epstein dated in the 90s. During a flight together in the early 90s, Mr. Trump came on to another Epstein employee traveling with them, telling her that he could have anyone he wanted. According to a different Epstein worker who learned of the incident, a separate Epstein employee from that era recalled that Mr. Trump would occasionally send over modeling cards for Mr. Epstein to peruse, like a menu. One of the women just said Trump groped her. What the fuck? What do you mean none of them said inappropriate behavior? What the fuck? Mr. Epstein, who claimed he required 3 orgasms a day, exploited or abused hundreds of women and girls before dying in what was ruled a suicide. Mr. Trump does not stand accused of sexually abusing a minor, but over the course of his friendship with Mr. Epstein and beyond, he left a trail of alleged abuse and assault, many details of which began to surface publicly during a successful 2016 presidential campaign. Can you imagine if Barack Obama had a trail of women he was groping and assaulting? Can you imagine if Barack Obama was Jeffrey Epstein's wingman? Just think about that for a second. Close to 20 women have publicly accused Mr. Trump of groping, forcibly kissing, or sexually assaulting them. Behavior that he once bragged he could get away with because of his celebrity, but later denied ever engaging in. In 2023, the writer E. Jean Carroll won a $5 million civil judgment against Trump for sexual abuse and defamation. In response to a detailed list of questions from the Times, the White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt issued a statement. This fake news story, which is not worth the paper it's printed on, is just another stale regurgitation of decades-old false allegations against President Trump. The truth will remain the same no matter how many times the New York Times tries to change it. President Trump did nothing wrong, and he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for being a creep. To Jeff, you are the greatest. Donald, October 1997, and autographed. A copy of Trump, The Art of the Comeback, that was inscribed by the future president to Mr. Epstein in 1997. It is unclear what new information may emerge under the new law passed by Congress. The statute allows Trump administration to withhold records that identify victims, including images of child sexual abuse or documents that are otherwise classified. Gotta protect Israel. Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Protecting Israel. Wee woo. That's what that means. His appointees could also hold back records that could jeopardize an active federal investigation, such as a new inquiry ordered by Mr. Trump into Democrats associated with Mr. Epstein. In a statement in late November, a group of Epstein accusers wrote, other than redacting victim names, we want all the files disclosed. Well, Mr. Trump has denied knowing of Mr. Epstein's abuse of underage girls, but in a tranche of emails released in November, Mr. Epstein suggested otherwise. In a 2019 message to the journalist Michael Wolff, he wrote of Mr. Trump, of course he knew about the girls, as he asked Ghislaine to stop. In a 2010 deposition, Mr. Epstein was asked if he had ever socialized with Trump with girls under 18. As he did more than 36 times during the deposition, Mr. Epstein invoked his constitutional right not to answer. Although I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir, he replied. Sometimes the phone would ring in Mr. Trump's office at Trump Tower. The caller, the mysterious Jeffrey, as Mr. Trump described him in a 2004 book of business advice, never gave a last name, nor did he need to, Mr. Trump wrote. A few times a week, the phone would ring in Mr. Epstein's office in the Villard houses on Madison Avenue. Mr. Trump would be on the line. On one occasion, recalled an Epstein assistant for the mid-90s, Mr. Trump refused to give any name at all. The White House spokeswoman declined to say whether Mr. Trump's book was referencing to a different Jeffrey, but the two talked at least 3 times a week during the mid to late 90s, according to a second Epstein assistant from that period. Do you guys talk to your best friend 3 times a week? I mean, maybe your best friend. But 3 times a week is up. I mean, that is like close friend levels. That's close friend. If you're talking to someone 3 times a week that you're not related to and you're not working in the same job about, that's close friend material. Picking up the phone and calling them on the phone, not sending a Discord message, calling them on the phone. The first assistant, who often worked late, recalled that sometimes when the office emptied out, Mr. Epstein would check to see that she was at her desk and put Mr. Trump on speaker. Mr. Trump, she said, seemed to enjoy regaling Mr. Epstein with tales of his sexual exploits. And Mr. Epstein seemed to delight in how uncomfortable it made her to overhear them. Bro! He really is America's Nero, isn't he? Or Caligula. Caligula? There you go. Like he really is. The American empire is falling. She remembered one call in the mid-90s in which 2 men discussed how much pubic hair a particular woman had and whether there was enough for Mr. Epstein to floss his teeth with. On another, Mr. Trump told Epstein about having sex with another woman on a pool table, the former assistant. A woman known in court records as Jane Doe, who Mr. Epstein trafficked during the mid-90s, beginning in her early teens, testified in Miss Maxwell's criminal trial in 2021 that Mr. Epstein often put famous friends on speakerphone in front of other people. Calls with Mr. Trump continued throughout the later years of the men's friendship, according to a third former employee who worked for Mr. Epstein on and off through most of the 2000s and also recalled him putting Mr. Trump on speaker. They would talk about pageants or modeling shows or which countries women were in vogue in the fashion world. Sometimes, the third employee said, Mr. Trump went on so long that Mr. Epstein, whose attention span was famously short, would leave the room while his friend was still talking. I've been there. I've been there. I've done that thousands of times. When Trump was talking, I just get up and leave because it's boring as fuck. But, you know, like, this is a real story. Maria Farmer, an artist who has said she was sexually assaulted by Miss Maxwell and Mr. Epstein during the 90s, told the Times in 2019 that Mr. Epstein has once summoned her to meet Mr. Trump at the Villard House's office. Mr. Trump leered at her, she said, before Mr. Epstein informed him that she's not for you. Mr. Trump with Mr. Epstein's partner, Ghislaine Maxwell, at a New York fashion show in 2000. This summer, a spokesman for Mr. Trump denied that the president had ever set foot in Mr. Epstein's office. The first former assistant, though, recalled Mr. Trump meeting there briefly with Mr. Epstein at least several times during the mid-90s. Her account was supported by Mark Epstein, Mr. Epstein's brother, who said Jeffrey had told him that Mr. Trump visited him frequently. He was in the office all the time back then, Mr. Epstein said in an interview with the Times. Daily handwritten notes kept by the first former assistant and reviewed by the Times suggest that Mr. Trump was a regular presence in Mr. Epstein's life. The notes, spanning several months in late 1994, have not been previously reported. Some pages contain instructions to call Mr. Trump or return his call. One note reminded the assistant to call Mr. Trump's office to see if he was flying to Florida tomorrow. Another recorded a package would be arriving with an invitation to a Mar-a-Lago event. On one page were instructions about invitations for an upcoming party. Mr. Trump was to be invited, but only if his ex-wife Ivana, with whom Miss Maxwell was friendly, declined. At this point in the 2000s, Trump had less clout than his ex-wife. Please take a look at this as well. There are more Trump-style figures. This guy never gets a mention for some reason, has big Israel links. The Trump administration just deported an Epstein victim? What the fuck? So the right only has one move now, which is say they're okay with pedophiles, right? I mean, if I were the right wing, I would abandon Trump. If I were the right wing, I would abandon Trump because he is literally old as fuck. He's term limited out. He's an Epstein associate. The economy's going into the shitter. They should dump him. If the right wing was smart, they would start dumping him and criticizing him because what's he going to do about it? Who gives a fuck? Their relationship was riddled with undertones of envy and disdain. Mr. Epstein seemed to hold a low opinion of his friend's business acumen, according to one former employee and others who knew him. On one occasion around 2001, the third former employee said Mr. Epstein was annoyed after Mr. Trump called him. He later told the employee that Mr. Trump was short on cash and wanted a ride on Mr. Epstein's plane. During the early years of their friendship, Mr. Trump was racing toward a reckoning over the billions of dollars he had borrowed to assemble his struggling empire, including casinos, hotels, and an airline and a yacht. According to a former Epstein employee, Mr. Trump seemed attracted to the financier's wealth and business network. It's unclear whether Mr. Epstein, who ostensibly specialized in offering tax and estate planning for wealthy clients, help Mr. No one has ever shown a single example of him doing this. I have never actually seen it. Maybe it exists and I'm just blind, but I have never seen an example of Epstein actually providing tax advice or estate planning. He's not a lawyer. As far as I know, he didn't even have a college degree. Where the fuck did he learn his tax strategies? This is off topic, but what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Oh yeah, Caleb Hammer is a disgusting rat. Everybody knows that. That's not. I can't believe that people are actually impressed by the advice of pay off your debts, the highest interest rate debts first, and then don't waste your money on frivolous purchases. Oh, he's a genius, guys. He's a fucking genius. Whoa, insightful genius financial advisor. Wow, wooey, zooey. He says pay your debts off and don't buy useless shit. Whoa, what a genius. Make this man a millionaire. All right, chat. I see these other really important stories, but we're talking about how Donald Trump is Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. It is unclear whether Mr. Epstein, who ostensibly specialized in offering tax and estate planning for wealthy clients, helped Mr. Trump navigate his financial problems. But in 2020, memoir of representing Epstein victims, Relentless Pursuit, the Florida lawyer Bradley J. Edwards wrote that Mr. Epstein had claimed to some young women that he had bailed out his friend out of bankruptcy, even as he dismissed Mr. Trump's deal. Okay, so Trump is literally a fucking Israeli spy now. It makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. Why Trump was so willing to help Cuomo. It's because they're all Israeli spies and agents. Oh, he's actually an Israeli spy. Even as he dismissed Mr. Trump's deal making, Mr. Epstein, who could be socially awkward at other people's parties, seemed to admire his friend's brash confidence and access to higher realms of nightlife and celebrity. He frequently mentioned his friendship with Mr. Trump, according to several accusers, telling one he had a bedroom reserved at Mar-a-Lago. Even after they fell out, Mr. Epstein kept a framed photo of himself with Mr. Trump and his future third wife, Melania, on a credenza in his Upper East Side dining room. A few years into Mr. Trump's friendship with Mr. Epstein, Ivana Trump filed for divorce. Mr. Trump's affair with Marla Maples, a former pageant contestant, was running hot and cold. In 1992, he invited NBC to Mar-a-Lago to shoot video for a feature about his post-divorce life on the talk show A Closer Look.
At least one woman has come forward to say she was abused by sex offender Jeffrey Epstein while he was on work release.
For 15 years, I wasn't a fan.
Yet, a tape in the NBC archives of a Mar-a-Lago party shows Trump giving Epstein his personal attention. The footage, shot in November of 1992, before Trump opened the resort as a club, shows the future president surrounded by cheerleaders for the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins, capturing Trump's fun-loving bachelor lifestyle for an appearance on Faith Daniels' NBC talk show.
We're going to get great ratings in your show.
Trump is surrounded by women as music blares in the background. After a while, Trump goes to greet 3 new guests. Among them, the financier Jeffrey Epstein. Come on in, show inside. More than a decade before his guilty plea on state prostitution charges. Later in the footage, Trump is seen talking to Epstein and another man as women are dancing in front of them. Trump alternates between dancing and pointing out women to Epstein and the other man and telling Epstein about the cameras. Though exactly what they say is difficult to understand as they discuss the women and their appearances, Trump gestures to one and appears to say to Epstein, "Look at her back there. She's hot." And then Trump says something else into Epstein's ear that makes him double over with laughter. But as the president says now, he never liked Epstein.
I was not a fan of his. That I can tell you. I was not a fan of his.
Looks like a big fan of Epstein.
I feel like I saw Ghislaine Maxwell. I believe that's the reported recruiter for Jeffrey Epstein. And I thought she was in the background there.
There she is. Spotted. Spotted. Can you imagine? Just imagine if Bernie Sanders was in this fucking shit. Can you imagine if Barack Obama was in this shit? I love beautiful women. I love going out with beautiful women, and I love women in general. The cameras captured him and Mr. Epstein at the Palm Beach estate, surrounded by cheerleaders from the Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills. In the video, Mr. Trump grabs a smiling woman from the rear and pats her on the behind. In another clip, he appears to point toward other women. In January 1993, Mr. Trump held another party at Mar-a-Lago, this one to kick off a beauty pageant he was bringing to Atlantic City with two business partners, George Horaney and Jill Harth. 24 or so potential contestants were flown in to meet Mr. Trump. The only other guest at the party, Mr. Horaney told the Times in 2019, was Mr. Epstein. He set up a beauty pageant. He flew in the women, and the only guest was his business partners of the pageant and Epstein. During dinner that night, Mr. Harth alleged in 1997 lawsuit Mr. Trump groped her under the table, then cornered her in a bedroom normally used by his daughter Ivanka, and forcibly kissed, fondled, and restrained her from leaving. Later, in the pre-dawn hours, she alleged in a suit, Mr. Trump also sneaked into a bedroom being used by a 22-year-old contestant. Climbing into her bed uninvited, he groped her too, according to the suit. Mr. Trump has denied the allegations by Mrs. Harth, Ms. Harth, who declined to comment. The pageant partnership later fizzled, leading Mr. Horaney to separately sue Trump in 95 for breach of contract. Ms. Harth said she withdrew her subsequent harassment lawsuit as a condition for settling the contract dispute. She went on to briefly date Mr. Trump. According to Mr. Epstein, he and Mr. Trump partied at his house. 2015 email exchange with Landon Thomas Jr., then a Times reporter. He recounted a moment when Mr. Trump was so focused on young women swimming in the pool that he walked into a glass door. Mr. Epstein also referred to the Mr. Epstein also referred to the 22-year-old contestant from that night in 1993, indicated she had pictures of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen, and providing her email address. Emails among those released by Congress last month came as Mr. Trump led in the polls for the Republican presidential nomination. Mr. Thomas, who had once pitched Mr. Epstein on a sympathetic profile, said he was approached by people who thought he had juicy info on you and Trump. It's unclear whether the photos Mr. Epstein referenced exist. The former contestant could not be reached for comment. The Times is withholding her name because she has not publicly come forward with her own account of the events. Mr. Thomas has said he never received any photographs. He left the Times in 2019 after disclosing that he had solicited a charitable contribution from Mr. Epstein. That's an Israeli spy. Israeli spy detected. Oh, let me write a sympathetic profile of Jeffrey Epstein in 2019. I'm sorry, 2015. In November 1993, Mr. Trump's chosen pageant contestants flew in from around the world for a week of events at his properties in New York and Atlantic City. At one point, Ms. Harth said in her lawsuit, Mr. Trump demanded that she provide him with access to a 17-year-old Czech contestant. The suit does not say if she complied or if Mr. Trump met the contestant. Toward the end of the week, the contestants joined Mr. Trump for a press luncheon at the plaza. One contestant, Beatrice Kuehl, then a bank employee and a part-time model from Switzerland, said in an interview with the Times that during the event, one of Mr. Trump's employees asked her to meet privately with him in a suite upstairs. Almost as soon as she arrived, Mr. Kuehl said, Mr. Trump began groping her, kissing her, and trying to lift her dress. I yelled, I screamed, I pushed him, she said. He didn't want to give up. That's another sexual assault! That's another sexual assault! I've never heard of this one! She said she was withholding some details of what happened because she was subject to anonymous threats. Ms. Kuehl first described the aspects of the episode to the Daily Mail last year. A friend, Pascal Lavaz, told the Times that Ms. Kuehl recounted the episode at the plaza to him around 2004. Ms. Kuehl also provided the Times with pictures of documents corroborating her participation in the pageant and of herself with Mr. Trump. She was literally, before the private meeting, she was also approached by Mr. Epstein. I'm Jeffrey. I'm Don's best friend, she recalled him saying. She was confused at first, Ms. Kuehl said, because he didn't seem to be affiliated with the pageant. She didn't understand why he had been let into the press luncheon. He said, Don likes you very much, and that they were organizing parties at Mar-a-Lago, and he would love me to join, Ms. Kuehl said. He would take care of her flights or hotel. You just need to pack and come to the party at Mar-a-Lago, she recalled him saying. When Ms. Kuehl demurred, Mr. Epstein tried other tactics, going on about the wealth he kept in Swiss banks, then about famous friends with whom he could arrange meetings. Epstein knew exactly what he was doing, she said. He had a hunting method. It was a routine. The first of Mr. Epstein's former assistants interviewed by the Times said on dozens of occasions in the mid-90s, the financier instructed her to call a pageant winner from somewhere in the world and invite her to visit him in Florida. His standing offer, the assistant says, was an all-expense a trip and $5,000 in cash to go shopping on Worth Avenue, Palm Beach, famed shopping destination. In December 1993, not long after the pageant, Mr. Trump married Miss Maples at the Plaza. Photos show Mr. Epstein in attendance, but the parties continued. There's Epstein. Dress sexy. In the early 2000s, guests mingled in the library or dining room of a Mr. Epstein Upper East Side mansion as their hosts held court. The women were beautiful and numerous. The men were older and few. Occasionally, one of the women would head toward the bedrooms. One of the men would shortly follow. One woman, then a model and college student in her early 20s living in Manhattan, said she attended 4 parties at the mansion. She could not recall the names of most of the men she met at the gatherings, not even those Mr. Epstein directed her to take care of at 2 of them. Recruited by Miss Maxwell and then abused by Mr. Epstein, she buried her shame and kept her secrets for years. But Mr. Trump's presence stood out, she told the Times. He was a household name, someone Mr. Epstein often bragged about to the women around him, yet also seemed to compete with. It was like a pissing contest. Who had the most women, she recalled. She requested anonymity to describe her experiences in detail, saying she feared for her family's safety after Mr. Trump said some of his critics should be executed for sedition. To people in the modeling business, men like Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein were a familiar part of the scene. Wealthy men who used their money, clout, and personal connections in fashion to meet the young women who worked in the industry. 2 days a week, you'd be at a model dinner at a restaurant, said Heather Braden, a model and filmmaker, and there'd be these men we didn't know. Miss Braden, who now lives in Utah, said she often saw Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein at the same parties or dinners during the 90s in New York and South Florida, including at Mar-a-Lago, which Mr. Trump converted to a members club in 1995. Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein at a Victoria's Secret party in New York in 1997.
I want to bring in now Arizona Democratic Congressman Yasamin Ansari. I want to bring in now Arizona Democratic Congressman Yasamin Ansari, member of the House Oversight Committee. Thank you for being here on this important day, particularly for the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse. What's the number one thing, Congresswoman, you hope gets answered by this release today?
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. I think that the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and God knows who else deserve justice once and for all. I think that at the bare minimum, I know, Todd Blanche has already said they are not releasing the entirety of the files today, which is unacceptable and not in compliance with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. But however,
well, I don't want to interrupt you, but I think it's
names.
Can I, Congresswoman, just say, because we were just given a joint statement by the ranking members, Robert Garcia and Jamie Raskin, and they talk about the failure to release all of the files today. And here's the key part of what they wrote, and I want to get your thoughts on it. We are now examining all legal options in the face of this violation of federal law. The survivors of this nightmare deserve justice. The co-conspirators must be held accountable, and the American people deserve complete transparency from the DOJ. If they're not all released today, do you have options?
We're looking at all possible options. We've been discussing today as part of the Oversight Committee. Our ranking member, as you mentioned, Robert Garcia, has been talking with ranking member Jamie Raskin. We will do whatever it takes to compel and force the Department of Justice to actually comply with the law. It has been 300 days since Pam Bondi had the spectacle outside the White House saying that she's going to release the files. We know they've done none of that since. She's been even accused by their own White House Chief of Staff this last week, Susie Wiles, for having completely whiffed the entirety of this ordeal. And enough is enough. We need accountability and justice. This cover-up has to end. They must release the entirety of the files immediately. That is what the law now says, and that's what Donald Trump signed into law himself. So the cover-up has to end, and we'll do anything to make sure that that happens.
You've specifically tried to shine a light on the money trail, and many of the survivors we've talked to have said that as well. You need to look at where the money came from and went. What have you learned about that from survivors? What are you hoping the release tells us?
Back shot.
The investigation in terms of the financial institutions is still at the beginning. As you know, the Oversight Committee did subpoena 2 financial institutions, but the Democrats, we had actually given the Republican chairman a list of over 20 financial institutions that that we have put together based on our conversations with lawyers, based on our conversation with the survivors. There's a lot more to this investigation, and so I do want to make sure the American public knows that this White House has been engaged in a cover-up all year, and therefore, when they've already said only several 100,000 documents will be released today, this won't be everything. There's a lot more out there. The Epstein estate has more documentation. The financial institutions have a lot more information, and so we will continue to work tirelessly to make sure we get all of the answers for the American public and for the victims and survivors of the crimes.
I want to read for you, Congresswoman, what White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles told Vanity Fair about where President Trump fits into all of this. Quote, Trump is in the file, and we know he's in the file, and he's not in the file doing anything awful. Wiles said that Trump was on Epstein's plane. He's on the manifest. They were, sort of young, single, whatever. I know it's a passé word, but sort of young, single playboys together. If this release shows nothing more than that, some pictures of Trump, his name on a flight log, would that be enough to convince you there's nothing more to see here, at least as far as the president is concerned?
That's a really good question. I think that if we feel that the entirety of the files in an unredacted form have been released, whether that's today or in the coming weeks, that is the answer that I think we need. But I don't trust this White House because they have not proven to be trustworthy. All year they have been covering up the truth. Donald Trump himself has blatantly lied about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, even in the photos that have come out through the variety of releases that have happened. It's very clear they had a very close personal relationship. But again, I was listening to the segment before this. It's not just, none of this has ever just been about Donald Trump. We don't care what political party somebody is in. We don't care how much money they have, what their status or power is. Anyone who was involved in either perpetrating abuse or rape of girls and women or enabling the cover-up should be held accountable. And that is the most important thing. It always has been.
Congressman Yasamin Ansari, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Crucial day in a story that's dominated Washington and engulfed the Trump White House for months. In the next 12 hours, the DOJ is required by law to release the government's files on convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. But Democrats are already crying foul, claim that comments from the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, suggest they might not get everything that they are required.
I expect that we're going to release several 100,000 documents today, and those documents will come in all different forms, photographs and other materials associated with all of the investigations into Mr. Epstein. So I expect that we're going to release more documents over the next couple of weeks. So today, several 100,000, and then over the next couple of weeks, I expect several 100,000 more.
Now, according to the law signed by President Trump, the DOJ is required to release all the Epstein files by midnight, not some, not most. I'm joined by a terrific group of reporters here, including MJ Lee. MJ, you've been doing some outstanding work on these files, and particularly in talking to the most important people involved in this and the survivors. What's your sense in talking to sources about what we expect and when we expect it?
Yeah, first of all, I was at least glad to have at least a general sense of the scope of what we will see today. A couple 100,000 documents is what Todd Blanche said. Importantly, as you pointed out, this is, it appears, about to be sort of a rolling basis of additional files coming in the next couple of weeks. That is not what most of the survivors, at least that I have spoken to, would like to see. They want this Band-Aid off. They've been waiting for this moment for so many years. I think a good recap of just massive amounts of information that we can potentially see and the kinds of information. The list is very, very long. We're talking about search warrants, FBI affidavits about those warrants, interviews with witnesses over the years, financial records, travel records, things from Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. In general, Pam Bondi can't just hold something back because she thinks, well, this is too sensitive or this might be embarrassing to X, Y, and Z people. However, there are a couple of categories of information. Some information can actually be held back. We're talking about identifiable information about Epstein victims, anything related to child sex abuse, physical abuse, anything that could hurt national defense, though how they're going to actually define that, we don't know. And then importantly, anything that could hurt an ongoing investigation. And a reminder, President Trump himself has ordered up an investigation into individuals, institutions that he's not fond of. So there are potential sort of loopholes that could allow the DOJ to withhold information. We just don't know what information.
Yeah, and of course we're hearing that the big holdup, there are a lot of documents. I think we should start there. It's a lot of information. There are a lot of redactions that need to happen. But I do think what's central to this is that the law requires all. And what I found so interesting about your reporting, MJ, is that the victims, that a lot of the lawmakers who are pushing for the release of these documents want to center, say, you know, all these, the leaks, you know, we don't like that it's trickling out, it doesn't have context. Some of the information that the House committee has released, they feel that it doesn't have context. They feel that it's being politicized somewhat, at least the perception of it has been politicized. So they're saying that's what we've been waiting for, is all of it to come out so that it can all kind of be done and be over with and we can get to the next. So it sounds like a lot of people might not be happy at the end of the day. Adding on the Republican voters who for years have been pushing for the release of these files, and they've been hoping Donald Trump would do this. They may not.
God damn it, I was muted. Sorry about that. Anytime someone says national defense, that means that they the US or the CIA committed a lot of crimes, and it'll make everybody hate them if we knew about it. So they have to cover up the crimes.
Not be satisfied
That's what
either.
I was going to say. This is a really, I think, key personal and political moment for President Trump. He's promised to release these files. There was loud, outspoken base of support amongst Republicans who wanted to see this moment happen. And I think, you know, maybe by the end of the day tomorrow we'll have a sense of whether or not this actually adds fuel to the fire and people feel unsatisfied, or if it actually quiets down that demand that so many voters have had.
I want just to kind of recap a little bit of some of the things that President Trump has said over, I don't know, the past year plus about the Epstein files and whether they should be released.
But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem.
Still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success. You got a lot of people that could be mentioned in those files that don't deserve to be, you know, people, because he knew everybody in Palm Beach. I don't know anything about that, but I have said to Pam and everybody else, give them everything you can give them, because it's a Democrat hoax. It's just a hoax.
You know, you have sort of that perspective from the president, really part of the reason why it's taken so long. But I want to now turn to what you referred to, Tia, which is the reporting that you and Annie Grayer have done about the victims and the survivors, I should call them, the survivors, and how they have sort of seen the drip, drip, drip of what the House Democrats have been doing in the lead up to what is supposed to happen by law today.
Yeah, you know, this entire lead up has been incredibly challenging and stressful for many of the survivors that I've spoken with, for all the reasons that I think we can understand. Not knowing what they can anticipate, not knowing when they're going to turn on the news and see something that could be triggering. And I think one thing that has been really frustrating and hard for them to stomach has been the slow rolling coverage of the you know, documents and photos being made public by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee. And the reporting that I have with Annie is that there was actually a private meeting with female House Democrats earlier this week where the survivors on this video call told the lawmakers, this is really hard for us. The fact that, you know, maybe every couple days, every once in a while, without any kind of heads up, we see, you know, random photos, it feels like, that are being made public. This is really stressful, and it causes that trauma sometimes resurface over and over again.
And yet Democrats did just that again yesterday.
Just that again yesterday.
So does that mean they weren't listening?
Well, I think what's interesting is that according to our reporting, some of the House Democrats on that call made clear that they shared in that frustration, that they certainly don't want to see victims and survivors being re-traumatized. At least that's what was conveyed. And they even said, you know, we're going to go to Robert Garcia and make sure that we take to him your concerns. But as you point out, we saw another round of it yesterday.
Yeah, I think it goes to show you, as you were just telling me, that, you know, the difference of having women speaking about an issue that in this case has largely impacted women. And then the men who are in charge, you know, maybe not having the same sensibilities. That's something that just came to my mind when you were talking. But I also think Democrats are in.
Why isn't she still running cover for Epstein? Because mainstream media runs cover for Israel. Epstein is one of Israel's most famous agents. So they are running cover for Epstein, even though everybody on the entire planet knows that he's a pedophile, rapist, scam artist.
You know, politically speaking, Democrats are trying to kind of hold up that this is an issue for Republicans, that they do have information that's not being released. I think they're trying to feed the beast because at the end of the day, we know there is a lot of public interest in this. So I think Democrats are trying to walk the fine line, but perhaps maybe the impact on the victims who, again, even with redactions, if you're a survivor, you know that's your picture, even if there's a square box over your face, you know it's you.
And before we go to break, I just want to put up one of, I said that the Democrats are pushing and reminding the administration of what the actual law says. Massey, who was one of the lead Republicans pushing for the Epstein files to be released, just put this on social media.
That thumbnail is crazy. That's a fucking crazy thumbnail. That's a fucking crazy thumbnail. That thumbnail is fucking crazy.
It's the part of the law that actually says not all of these, it's not some, but all of these documents should be released.
All right, chat. It is Friday. So that means that we get together and we watch a movie in my Discord at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We get together, we watch a movie. This, for the past few weeks, we have been watching the critically acclaimed series Mussolini, Son of the Century.
Quella di oggi è una data storica. Oggi nasce il fascismo. Una creatura bellissima, fatta di ideali, di cambiamento, che conquisterà milioni di cuori. Sono sicuro anche i vostri. Seguitemi. Un'epoca è finita. Il mondo come funzionava prima non funziona più. La violenza che praticate è imbarazzante. La nostra è una violenza cavalleresca. Ecco.
Tu li fai cadere tutti, finché non arriverà il tuo momento.
Ed io mi farò trovare pronto. Dobbiamo diventare un vero partito! Ora entra in scena il prestigiatore. La democrazia sopravvive per mia gentile concessione, per ora.
So Mussolini, Son of the Century, we'll be watching that tonight. I think, what episodes are we on? Final 2 episodes tonight. So come together, hang out in the Discord. Here's the link. It's in the chat right now. We do that every week. We get together. So we'll be finishing Mussolini, Son of the Century. Should be fun. Damn, I missed the earlier episodes. I mean, you guys still have time to catch up if you start watching right now. It's a spoiler. We know what happens. What else, chat? What else did I not talk about today that I wanted to talk about? Oh yeah. You know, chat, I almost talk about Ethan Klein, but I run out of time. I just, you know, I never can get to it for some reason. Every day I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk about Ethan Klein today. But then I just realize it doesn't matter. And it's an embarrassing. He's an embarrassment and a fucking loser. And he's falling off. Somebody, oh man, I didn't post it. Fuck, I didn't retweet it. I should have. Somebody posted on my feed that Ethan Klein and his final stream before the end of the year. Also, final stream before the end of the year. It's the 19th, you lazy fuck. You're not, like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're not Christian. You're not going to Christmas vacation. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Just stream. You stream 3 hours a fucking week. What do you mean? You need to have 3 weeks off? Like, what the fuck? You stream in your house. What do you mean? Anyway, what a lazy piece of shit. Holy fuck, that's crazy. But apparently in his last stream, it was like he peaked at like 17K YouTube viewers, which is like a lot lower than Twitch streamer viewers. His audience is absolutely fucking crumbling. If somebody could find me that tweet, that would be amazing. But all I have to say about Ethan Klein is holy fucking hell. Hello, Social Blade? Are we okay? Is Social Blade broken? Like, what's going on? Social Blade, what the fuck? Did it break? Is it crashed? And now he's got his sponsors, chat. Check out Ethan Klein's new sponsors.
Yeah, I work with Prize Picks.
So yeah, you work with like the sports betting guys?
Yeah.
I wish I could do that.
Why can't you?
I just have a policy of not working with gambling.
Even if it's like legal in the US?
If you guys have not tried out the Prize Picks app, you guys gotta try it out.
Oh my god. So they lead with a Prize Pick app. God, man, I wish I didn't care about anything. God, if I didn't care about gambling, I'd be as rich as XQC. Well, that's the problem is we try to find legit sponsors. If we just looked for gambling, they wouldn't give a shit.
Okay, we could do that.
Yeah, we could.
We should.
I'm not going to. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, guys.
I fucking love it. This is the same as when Destiny said that NFTs were a scam, and then literally 3 days later, Destiny took an NFT sponsorship. They fucking hate their audience. They fucking hate their audience, and they're greedy, and they don't give a shit about them at all. They want them to get addicted to gambling just so he makes a couple extra bucks. What, for your Bel Air mansion? How much money do you need exactly? You're gonna ruin people's lives with gambling addiction for a little bit more money. What? You live in Bel Air in a mansion, a $10 million mansion. What more do you fucking need, you greedy fuck? What more do you need that you're going to be jamming gambling sponsorships down your family's throats and your audience's throats? After you made such a big deal grandstanding at XQC, by the way, for gambling.
We make decisions every day, you and I, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Download Prize Picks app today and use the code H3. Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making players pick for the first time, all these actual scum fuck pieces of shit that advertise gambling solely, getting people literally addicted, and frankly, statistically is going to be responsible for people killing themselves. Mike Majlik, the addiction specialist who promotes gambling, known as the deadliest vice. They call it the deadliest vice because the most amount of people commit suicide from getting addicted to gambling. I would not be surprised if literally suicides were a fucking result of what you've been putting out in the world. Gambling, which is the deadliest vice. Like, you have no fuck, bro. Shut the fuck up. Prize Picks.
Ramos said, "Thank you for starting my gambling addiction, girly." Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't joke about that.
If you gamble, there's only winners and quitters. So never quit. Keep gambling. One day you'll win.
That's right.
Exactly.
Or, and this is a bit macabre, forgive me, or you end up just killing yourself because gambling is... they say the deadliest vice. Your thoughts on that?
You know, I'm born and raised out here in Vegas, and I gotta be honest with you, I've heard a lot of things. I've seen a lot of people go through a lot of situations with gambling, and you're 100% correct. Most of my friends are no longer here because of it.
I just have a policy of not working with gambling.
So just when you thought Ethan Klein couldn't decline even more, Just when you thought Ethan Klein couldn't be more of a disgusting piece of shit. Is Social Blade broken? Okay, there it is. He's now promoting gambling. He's now promoting gambling. Well, ladies and gentlemen, don't you worry. His viewership is down to the lowest it has ever been. And now he's about to go on a 3 or 4 week break. The H3 podcast is motherfucking toast. If you are a person who still finds yourself watching the H3 podcast, now is the time to break the habit. Now is the time to just watch literally anything else.
Product to these people. I'm selling the bottom of the barrel cheap. I'm just trying to get a couple bucks, man. This how real CEOs operate. You sell the cheapest product for the most money, okay? That sounds... Tell me that don't sound kind of fire, Chad. Throw that in there.
And, you know, Chad, if somebody is still watching the H3 podcast in December of 2025, I would never wish a gambling addiction on anyone. But if there was one group of people who I think... Never mind. Ethan donked off 50K at a poker tournament this week, by the way. Show me the clip. I want to see the hand where Ethan Klein gets knocked out. I'm sure it was a genius fucking play. Let me see that play. Come on, chatters. Come on. Come on, faster. Come on, chatters. Come on. It's Friday. Let us have some fun. Of course, allies of Israel and the U.S. are aiding the cover-up. I just happen to believe they are doing so because they are allies of Israel, not because the U.S. cuts their paycheck. Does no one have it? Does anyone have it? There's no clip of Ethan Klein losing 50,000? Come on. I'm sure he was being paid to play. I'm sure it was a free entry. Ethan Klein is the kind of poker player that loses money off of free entries. Oh, I found this.
Entire day. She's on day 2 now, and the World Series of Poker people have been gracious enough to allow us to restream, which is very exciting, something they never do. And they put her at the main table so that we can have a great stream here. She's going to be there for the first 4 hours at least, so we have that time there to enjoy.
Ethan Klein is the type of person that if you're trying to promote your podcast, you probably don't want her to get a lot more screen time.
The buy-in to this tournament is $26,000. Now, the World Series of Poker and the Celebrity Poker Tour were actually kind enough. They bought us in.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
How's our experience with Negreanu been like? I mean, Negreanu's as good as it gets.
He's been playing super tight. He's kind of been bleeding out a little bit next to her. But he's been super nice. They've been chatting it up. Yeah. He's a total sweetheart. And I know she's a fan of his, so it's really cool that she gets to chat it up with him.
I think he realizes that this is really good for the game. What you guys are doing helps us bring poker to a wider audience.
Yeah, people are super into it. Everyone's wanting to play poker now. Let's get it going.
Okay, let's get it going. I'm going to go back to work.
All right, guys. Thanks for saying hi. Jeff Platt, everybody.
You're so cool. Pleasure to meet you.
Let's go.
Hey, Jeff. He's the sweetest dude ever.
Yeah.
He is. His girlfriend is a fan. She has Teddy Fresh, and she's a total sweetheart too. They're both terrific. That's why I'm saying tag them, love, because I think this is a big deal for them to have this many people interested. And we got to make sure they know what we got here. That's crazy.
Next to you, as part of a wildly popular podcast. How important do you think it is for the game to start to introduce these celebrities and bring poker into the mainstream like this?
So that's always been the hook, right? So poker has an audience. People that love it, they play it. But if you want to introduce the game to a new audience, you need people to bring an audience and sort of like, have them, like the Celebrity Poker Tour guys do that, and having that sort of thing. It's really worthwhile to go a little more mainstream, to remind people that this is a really fun game. Maybe some got away from it after the boom, and we can re-engage them too.
Appreciate the time. Good luck today.
Nice.
All right,
shout out.
Thank you, Daniel.
Shout out to Jeff. Shout out Jeff.
World Series of Poker. I hope you're watching.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff for
World Series of
you
Poker. I
up
hope
there.
you're watching your own show.
This is the stone last time you can.
Yeah, Jeff is the man.
38 minutes.
Oh, brother.
There was more time I would have called.
You see, he called us wildly popular.
World's famous.
I did, yeah. He's a doll.
Ethan, well, unfortunately, you were out of this event. Why don't you tell us what happened in there?
I think dumb play and bad luck.
Yeah.
The two things that makes you lose.
So I've followed your content for years. I had no idea that you were a poker player.
I don't actively play it, but I definitely enjoy playing when I come out here.
And your wife is still going to go in there and play, so...
They're like, this is the biggest fish in the entire room.
I'm sure you're going to cheer her on against all these guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a commentate.
So
back, it's fun.
Ethan, well, unfortunately...
12 likes. Woo. We love promoting a gambling addiction to our fans. Peace and love.
Oh,
This is, by the way. All right, I'll kill him slowly.
No.
Remember Saving Private Ryan? It's okay.
That was the Nazi. That was the Nazi killing someone with a Hitler Youth knife. Ethan Klein is fantasizing of being a Nazi killing someone with a Hitler Youth knife. He kills the Jewish GI. That's the fucking person you're pretending to be? The most tragic and heart-wrenching scene of the movie where the Jewish GI gets caught in hand-to-hand combat with a huge division of German soldiers, and to protect his friend, he's in hand-to-hand combat, and then the coward slinking on the steps hides and lets his friend get killed with a fucking Hitler Youth knife. That's who you're reenacting?
Just let it happen.
Who is he stabbing? Who the fuck is he
Oh,
stabbing?
by the way.
No. Okay. We're also not, if somebody called CPS on Ethan and like DEMS and Caseytron and all them, it's hard to separate because these communities are so toxic, but if they just laughed at that fact, then it would be gross, disgusting, or whatever. Let's say that again, to make the reason why your analogies are so mindful.
Okay. So admitting that he is gross or whatever.
The dad and the daughter one was a good example too. It's because you're erasing the part where they are watching something that is driving the behavior. If I was watching video after video, if I was talking about like, this is one reason why I don't do, even though I like gun.
Listening to that charlatan talk, it's boring. He's such a charlatan, and he constantly has meth voice. You know when somebody's high off of some sort of drug. Well, chat, fuck. I was just about to hop off, and then I got sucked into making fun of Ethan Klein. Anyway, thank you guys, gals, non-binary pals for all the support. Here's all the links. I'm gonna send you over to someone that I've wanted to raid for a while now. Caseytron, the queen, is back on Twitch doing a stream-a-thon, and you know, obviously with the scurrilous and frivolous lawsuit of Ethan Klein, it's necessary for you to support our queen Caseytron after she successfully defended her family from the ridiculous, horrible attack of the liar Ethan Klein. So thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with me today. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Here's all my links. And don't forget, we're going to be watching Mussolini's Son of the Century tonight. Sending you guys, gals, non-binary pals over to the queen, and make sure you donate to her streamathon. All right, everybody, stay safe. Solidarity forever. Free Palestine. And no matter what happens, remember, socialism will win. All right, everybody. Peace out.